individuals, we made a lot of money together. Some individuals, we're going to make a lot of money together. And this is Please Use Your Napkin. And I happen to have a satin napkin because I'm bougie. So I'm bringing this to everybody so that you can be more proficient at underwriting multifamily deals. Now, there are several different ideologies about how do you underwrite. There's several different ways, things you can use. At the end of the day, you have to go through a framework, okay? And that's what we're going to get all into tonight. We're going to jump into it. I don't know if you can tell I'm excited. I was about to jump right in here. But we'll give it some time, let everybody else join, see what's going on. If you are here, say where you are from. That's the first thing. But before you type in any of that, I need you to change your names, okay? And I want you to add to your names and type in where are you from, as far as like where you're doing business. And if you are experiencing something, whatever your superpower is, you should put that down. So if you're a gator lender, if you know what that is, you know what that is. If you are a private money lender, if you are a great underwriter, if you are, a great operator, it doesn't matter what it is, but you want to put that down because this meeting that we're doing is about networking. It's about giving. It's about being able to help. And I brought a couple of friends with me that they share the same mindset that I do, right? And in multifamily especially, I have a great man that I met along my journey in this space. His name is Nathaniel. He was one of the first individuals that explained the game of multifamily in the sense of it takes a team in order to truly make this thing happen. There is no way you can be one of the most proficient individuals in the multifamily space and you're doing it by yourself. I don't care who you are. You could be named Grant Cardone. Your name could sound like Pace Morby. It doesn't matter, right? Like if you are in this space, then you understand that it takes a team and there's a whole different mindset that goes along with it. So for sure, make sure you put, again, where are you from? What is it that you do? And make sure you put the contact information in there. So I got Cassandra, what's going on, girl? All the way from Alaska, coming in and also letting everybody know where she is looking for deals, where she's from. She put down that she's a closer and she got contact information. That's what I'm talking about. That's in the game. Now, the other thing, it's after hours, right? We tried to pick a time that would work for everybody. It was very difficult because on the team that I'm working with now, we have like 4 different time zones, right? So it's like, no matter what time frame you pick, it's not going to be convenient necessarily. And shout out to Nick from Staten Island. And also, some of you guys know, we have all types of different things on a Wednesday night, right? Like from 7 all the way down, there's like different people we know that are doing meetings and stuff like that. So will we change the time frame? I think so, but we'll see. We'll see how it goes. I know one thing for sure is that we just wanted to take action. We wanted to come out. We didn't want to wait and have it be like another week where like, okay, let's push it back to next week. And then also, the holidays are upon us, right? I think the holidays been upon us, right? A lot of people clocked out since Thanksgiving. Since they had that first piece of turkey, it was like, all right, that's it. Don't look for me till January 3rd. That's when I'm back in motion with things. So I think starting this week was a great idea for us to keep our juices flowing. Now, a lot of you guys are in here from the Elephant Challenge, which is great. Some of you from Sub 2, some of you from other multifamily groups. I absolutely love it. Glad you are here. Thank you. And definitely make sure to welcome yourself in by following the instructions. Ryan, just go ahead and put in the chat. Now, this call will be recorded. We're actually streaming on YouTube and on Facebook right now. So shout out to everybody on there now. But it is going to be recorded. And there's going to be certain things that we're going to be talking about that you are going to want to take notes. Yes. But you may want to go back and review this. So I urge you to do that. And I promise you the game that we give in, today is going to be worth it, worth your time. And I appreciate you all coming to hang out with me. Now, I know some of you might have saw my picture earlier today and was like, damn, Eddie look good. And was like, let me just come on there because Eddie's going to be on here. And I appreciate that. I really do, me and my mom. But outside of that, I would love to see you guys' faces as well. So if you have your camera off, unless you are in your towel, getting ready to hop in the shower, turn that camera on. Mike, I was talking to you, so I'm glad you're not in the towel. I appreciate that. Mike's a wild guy. Appreciate you guys coming on. Let's get in it. We're gonna get in this thing. It's gonna be fun, and we're gonna have a great time. So, real quick, I want to kind of get an assessment of where people are getting deals from and reaching out to different sectors. So, if you are reaching out to brokers, I want you to put a 1 in the chat. And if you're reaching out to directly to sellers, put a 2 in the chat. And if you're doing both, put a 3. I want to be able to get a good understanding of what everybody is doing so that we're giving out the right information for the group that serves the group.
Can I jump in real quick and point out how many people put 1 + 2 and then 3? I love it. That's a nice little trick there.
I love it. I see. I just peeped that. That's dope. That's good. All right, so we got a pretty good mix. We got a pretty good mix. All right, cool. Cool. I love it. All right, so let's jump straight into it, guys. If that's okay with you, we're gonna get down and dirty and busy. We'll probably be on here for an hour and a half. I have no problem staying a little bit later. We can go to midnight. I'm good with it. Here's what I would say is participation is what's going to actually push this thing forward. So if you have something you need help with, if you got a deal, et cetera, like that, definitely bring it up. Let us help you. Now, here's the one thing I will say, because this isn't like a small community where a lot of stuff is protected, but we're not doing single family, right? Can we be clear on that? So if we're talking about a deal, the odds of somebody trying to steal your deal is very, very slim. Like somebody's gonna be like, oh, this is the deal that we are looking for. Marcus, I got you. This is the deal that we are looking for. Let me go ahead and hurry up and skip trace this multifamily person, call the broker tomorrow because I already have my private money of $3 million ready to go. Like that, you're not gonna have that happen. So I want everybody to feel comfortable. Now here's the other thing. If you are gonna share something, you don't have to share the address. You can just give us the information that we need and we can still be able to help you out. But I want everybody to know this is a safe space, all right? I want nobody.
Look, if after all that, someone still finds a way to find that information, then they kind of deserve it. Like,
yeah, if they got that CIA powers, then yeah, you gotta give them something. You know what I mean? Hopefully they keep you back. All right, so my guy Anthony has his hand raised. What's up, bro? Go ahead.
What's good? What's good, y'all? Hey, man, nice to be here. Thank you for the invite today. Love the Zoom this afternoon. Thank you for that. Man, I just going to jump right into it. I'm doing a calculator right now, and this thing is like giving me a headache. What I'm trying to do, it's real simple stuff, man. But so I'm catching a lot of leads where they're sending me stuff, but they're not sending me everything. Like for instance, this cat, he sent me stuff. He sent me a rent roll, and basically that was it. You know, yeah. Like I text him back and I said, yo, I need a T12, I need a rent roll and a P&L before I can try to underwrite this. And he's like, that's all I have. The rent roll is above, which he did send me a list of doors with numbers. You know, it's 11 units or 11 doors. Okay. But the way he did it was exactly how you said earlier. You said in the multifamily, they'll tell you how much it is a door. They ain't gonna tell you the asking price. Yep. So I found him, by the way, a broker today. We were making calls on the phone. I actually called this cat. Justin had invited me over to another Zoom, and I made a call with Justin on another call. And this is the guy that I called. Okay. And he sent me his information, but on the on the property on LoopNet, it says 6 units. I'm trying to find it where the hell it said that price per unit, 165,833 per unit. So I just said, okay, 6 times that, give me my number, right? The asking price.
Right.
So then I threw that in the calculator. It came out to be 995,454. And then I just put in the number of units. And I watched a Grant Cardone video today, and he said, man, I put in 10% for vacancy. So I said, okay, I don't know the vacancy, so I'm gonna say 90% on that. And then I added all the rent rates up together, and I divided it by 11 because there's 11 doors and I have different prices for the rent. So I added all those, divided by 11, and I got the number $632.
Okay.
I put that in, and then it's telling me that my max allowable offer is 441, and they're asking 995.
Quick question.
Yes,
Do you know your pro forma rents?
the pro forma, what he put in what he sent me, he basically just sent me a picture, a screenshot of like the unit numbers and the amounts, but it does not say pro forma. It does
Okay,
not
Anthony.
say- Yes.
Anthony, real quick, when you said he sent you, are you talking about
the broker?
the broker?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So that's strange. I've never had a broker send me, like, first of all, anything through a screenshot.
I thought the same thing.
Yeah.
First.
So this is really good. I'm glad you kind of brought this up. So there are certain information. There's certain people who are brokers, right?
Uh-huh.
But then you'll notice as the deal starts to progress, they always have to be like, okay, let me call you back. And what they're doing at that time, they're calling the other broker who's actually in charge. So more than likely, Anthony, you're talking to the baby broker.
Got you.
And you got to go back and you got to say, listen, I need all of the information, or I can't really do anything with this. So is there a way you can send me to daddy broker, right? Like connect me to the guy or the girl who actually has the information. Because at the end of the day, this is for everybody, right? Remember, brokers only have one job. It is to protect their seller from the mass attack of individuals who want to take a look at the property or whatever like that, to be able to get the property sold. Period. That's it, right? And so if you're reaching out to somebody, he sends you a screenshot and be like, hey, here's what it is. That's not the one you want to talk to. And if they're not able to get you the detail, bro, just move on, right?
Okay.
Like you don't want to spend time with any. So here's what we do. Let me share my screen, and actually let me introduce some people up here first.
Sure.
First and foremost. Let's start with that. So as you guys probably already know, we have one of our guests that was going to speak on here tonight, is going to walk through some of the deals with us. Is an amazing, talented underwriter, goes by the name of Ed. And yes, that is true. All good-looking, handsome, very smart people names start with the E. So I know some people were wondering that. But he is somebody I met through probably the other second smartest person that I know, Ryan. Ryan, if you guys are part of Sub 2, you may remember Ryan as the brainchild of underwriting multiple deals in Sub 2. And actually, when Pace even thought about getting started in multifamily, Ryan was the first person Pace got on his team to help, right? So reached out to Ryan, said, Ryan, listen, this is what we're about to do, et cetera, et cetera. He says, perfect, I love it. If we're gonna do this, we gotta bring on this guy named Edward. So I wanna bring Edward to the stage, because Edward's gonna be the one that is going to walk us through a bunch of these deals that we're talking about now. And in addition to that, Edward was actually in Hawaii. And I said, Ed, listen, we gotta help the people. And I wanna be able to do something real dope, because we're getting deals sent our way and they're not quite good deals. So how can we help? And so he concocted this whole entire thing. I came up with this name, like, please use your napkin. so that we can teach you guys how to napkin underwrite these deals. So Anthony, to your question, you'll know what deal that you need to be spending time on and what deal you need to just let go. And when I say let go, by all means, I'm not saying throw it to the wayside. I'm saying this is the one that you're going to follow up on in 30, 60 days and say, hey, are you guys still looking to sell? Okay, what numbers are you trying to sell at now? Because the pinch is going to happen for multifamily. It's already started. All right. Like, for example, if those of you don't know or may not have paid attention today, the interest rates went up again. All right. That hurts. It hurts big time because there's plenty of people who bought a property 4 years ago, 3 years ago, got a bridge loan and was like, listen, you know, we're gonna cash out on this crazy. It's gonna be beautiful. Yes. Look at the market. And then the market took a big dump this year and it has not stopped. And I don't think it's going to stop till sometime around end of Q1, Q2. And so now these people have their loans that's going to be called due. And they're like, we can't refinance and get the money out because the rate that we had is like 5-6 points lower than what their market rate is now. So they have a major, major issue. And this is why, one of the reasons why we look at deals and we also are using creative terms to be able to go after these deals. So we'll walk over that, we'll break that up, but I'll bring up my guy, Ed. I work with Ed pretty much every day. I work with Ryan pretty much every day. Don't let him fool you. He's also extremely talented when it comes to underwriting deals, as some of you guys already know, but I got Ed, come on through, bro. What's up, man?
What is up, everyone? Man, what an intro. So I think you brought up a good point. He's not kidding when he says we talk every day and a lot every day. But it's also because if you're gonna be on a team, you need to first and foremost. I think communication is the biggest part of all of this, given that you need to be on the same page. You know, it's funny when I see, and I've said this so many times, but people are like, I have this buy box, right? Everyone has this buy box that they say they'd love to purchase in, or their location, unit size, cash flow, cap rate, cash on cash, whatever criteria you want to use. But if you're on a team, well, if you're alone, kudos to you, best of luck. I can't do it. Tried it, not fun. But if you're on a team and you have this buy box, you got to make sure with the rest of your team that you have the resources to close on that. Like, if I bring you the perfect deal for that buy box, can you make it happen? So I think one thing to think about as well throughout the underwriting process, which is kind of what like my focus is, you want to make sure that your resources match your buy box and that the deal you're proposing is going to fit the resources you have. If I have private capital raisers who can raise 3 million, cool. I can say we can put X dollar amount down and not worry about it. But if I have a team full of like, hey, we have $1 million, but we have a guy who could sponsor a loan for 4 million, that changes everything. Okay, cool. So if I get a loan for this amount, I can make up the difference. I can still get to the same number. I just have to do it differently. So one thing in multifamily, I like to say, it's like the underwriting is like your storytelling, and you're kind of writing the story. You paint the picture and you try to push it to your team and they put it to life. You have a director and all the other fun positions in a movie. Essentially, to a lot of like what Anthony was saying, one thing in multifamily as well is like, and Eddie was mentioning this too, you got to make sure that the person you're talking to is actually going to help you and not just need another barrier of entry. In single family, it's really easy to get direct to seller, or a lot easier. In multi, anyone that can get their hand in the bucket, they're going to try to reach because it's a large bucket. $10 million commission, $20 million property, the commissions become very large. If anyone's a realtor, I am one in Los Angeles. You can imagine I kind of see ridiculous prices for homes, yet alone properties. It's really nasty when it comes to those high commissions. It's like kill or be killed at some point for these realtors, and everyone's just trying to get a piece of the pie. And that's ironically enough, Eddie, if you can just let me share my screen.
Yeah, got it.
On the underwriting side, ironically enough, one of the properties I have an OM for that I want to show you guys, because of its upside or how detailed the information is in LA, in my backyard. So I still can't share. It's okay.
Yeah, 1 second. I'm
yeah.
gonna get to you in a second.
So basically with the underwriting and with the multifamily space in general, it's really important to just stick to what you're good at. You know, building a team and being a part of a team is awesome. When like I'm not that experienced in the capital raising side, so I don't do it. I find people that will. I don't love talking to brokers unless we're moving towards a deal, so I don't do it. Simple as that. And if you find what you really like on that, the many different goals and tasks that can be done in a multifamily deal and transaction, there's enough piece of the pie that everyone can feel like they contributed and feel like their time was was valuable. You know, so at the end of the day, I don't care if you're LeBron, Jordan, Messi, or name your favorite athlete. Without a team, you're not winning. We see that evidently in sports every day. I'm a big UFC fan, so maybe that's a little different, but you guys kind of get the point. So find what you're good at, find your superpower, find a way to connect with people. And everyone always asks me like, oh, how'd you find out you like underwriting? I'm like, well, one, I didn't have a choice. It was like the first thing I got into, and it was the first step of the process. And I like Excel, I like the numbers, and I was like, okay, I kept doing it. I got really good at it. But also what I think nowadays is very important, like Eddie said, is being able to underwrite creatively, which is super valuable, because I think any offer you have should have some creative in it, even if they said no. Every time they're going to tell you no until they realize that, oh, you really can offer more because you did. Exactly. There's no I in team.
So check this out. Here's what I want to do, because I want Ed to share his screen and we can jump straight into a OM and everything that we have. But let's first kind of break down the basics. So I'm going to share my screen, and it's certain pieces of information that we already know that we want, right? All the time, every time, right? We want to be able to have the OM if available. Sometimes it's not available, and I do want to say something about OMs. OMs is the polished bit on a rock that a broker is going to do. So even though the OM is there and it could be like really, really good looking, etc., you want to make sure you trust and you still verify. See, bro? You trust and still verify, right? And so the OM you need, not necessary. If I had to choose, I would ask for the T12s, and I would try to get it up to date. So here's a quick tip. A lot of times you'll get a T12 and it won't be as recent as you would like it to be. Maybe it's like 6 months ago or something. That's because that's the last time it was produced, and they've been trying to sell it for 6 months. So they're just gonna send you the last time they had, but there's so much that could happen. So you want to make sure you're getting the most updated version of that if possible. But just to kind of start it off, right? To kind of, hey, let's see if I even like you. Start with what you can get. So the T12 is definitely something that you want to be able to get. Yes, you want to verify the OM with the T12, which is why, to me, the T12 is more important. The other thing that you want to make sure that you get is the rent rolls. And the rent rolls and the T12 is totally different. Yeah, James. So James asked the questions, am I going to share this? I'll break that down in a second. So the rent rolls is extremely important. It's different from the T12. The T12 goes into details, but the rent rolls are showing you just from a rental standpoint, everything that's going on, right? And then you have your profit and loss. That's a really good piece that if you can get, ask for that. And I promise you, just asking for that to the broker puts you above everybody else. Because a lot of people are only asking for the OM, they're only asking for the T12, right? The OM is a offering memorandum. right? It's the wedding invitation card. Okay, that's essentially what it is, right? The T12 is what's called the trailing 12. So it's basically everything that's been going in and out over the last 12 months. Sometimes they say, hey, we don't have a T12, we have a T3, we have a T6, right? What do you think that is? It's the trailing last 6 months, essentially. Sometimes they won't have any of that, and they'll tell you that they're going to take a picture of a sheet of paper where they wrote down their numbers, their expenses, and the money that they made. Whenever you get a deal like that, you do not run away. That is called a gold mine. Okay, I should have said this to start off. If you are doing multifamily, you are not in the business of real estate, like homes and people and etc. You guys have to make that distinction. If you're doing multifamily, you are in a buying business type of real estate, plain and simple. And so you need to make sure you're getting the right information. Someone that doesn't have those pieces of information or is showing you signs of mismanagement, that's like me buying a business pennies on the dollar. I'm gonna come in and make it operate the way it's supposed to, and immediately I cash flow something ridiculous. Go ahead, Ed.
One massive point I want to bring up about that, and Eddie nailed it. But one big thing is sellers don't realize this. Sometimes brokers don't, which is kind of crazy. And don't get me started with brokers. But if you were to go to a bank and say, I want, even if it's a $10 million property, and you say, I want 2 million, you're asking for 20% loan. Nothing crazy. They don't care if you don't, if it's the best deal in the world. No bank is gonna fund you properly. You can always go to private hard money. Of course, there's other alternatives. But I'm talking like your standard loan. No bank is gonna fund you without those documents. They can verify the building's there, but if they have no documents backing what you're proposing and the valuation of the price or the property, they're not going to give you a bank, and they don't care how qualified you are at that point. It's imagine if I told you that this restaurant makes $1 million a year. You're like, oh, okay, cool. You see people there, food's good, everything's great. All right, cool. I could believe that. But what if I just set a random mom and pop restaurant in LA? If you don't live here, you won't know about it. And you're like, oh, do you have anything to show me to prove it? And I was like, no, just believe me. You can be like, cool, but I don't. It's essentially you're just telling the bank to trust you, which if you're trusting the seller at that point, that's another risky thing because you are going to have a heavier due diligence period when they don't have those documents. You kind of have to create it for them, which you think it's crazy and like, oh my God, so much work. It's not that bad, I promise, because at the end of the day, the one general thing about like it's a common thing about businesses is every business is producing income, hopefully, and every business has expenses, and you know your standard rule of expenses. You know, yeah, you'll have other different things. Maybe in some buildings, your insurance is never going anywhere. You're paying it. Taxes, unfortunately, are not going anywhere. You just need to know what the tax is in that city or state or whatever county. And your loan information you can get from the bank. So you know your set number of expenses you're going to have, doesn't matter what you purchase. And it comes back to, again, knowing your resources. You got to know what your capital costs.
So you're looking for certain key things. Like we're going over this because what I don't want you guys to do is okay, I got the information. Let me plug it into whatever spreadsheet you plan on using now. Okay, is it a deal? Because you're going to be missing a lot of key pieces of information, like the T12, the OMs, the rent rolls. We need that because we're trying to gather the story behind this business. Okay, so one of the things that we're looking for as individuals that is looking to buy a business, like Ed just said, there's income and there's expenses. We're looking for how much that is, what can be changed, and what is happening that's mismanagement. A lot of times people be trying to understand, like, why would somebody sell a multifamily building that's producing money? I'll explain to you. A lot of owners get in the rut of having too much money come in month after month. I know you guys are like, I don't understand, why is that, how is that a problem that would cause somebody to want to sell? If you own a property for, let's say, 7-10 years, okay, you have a property management company, everything kind of is running by itself. Every month you get a check for 40 grand. There's a certain type of individual who no longer really invest into the property. And so anytime you defer any type of expenses that should be happening, yes, you get to cash flow that extra income. But somewhere along the line, you have to pay that back. And when the property gets to a point where it's like Pace was talking about a video that property he saw on Google Maps. He's looking at a multifamily building on Google Maps, and on Google Maps, you can see 4 or 5 different color rooftops on a multifamily building. Like, if we saw 4 or 5 different rooftops on a single family home, we'd be knocking on the door ASAP, right? Why on a multifamily is that happening? That's a sign that shows you there's mismanagement that's taking place. And that is the seller who have ran its course and now is ready to leave. You all have gone into a business, an actual business, and you can tell the owner don't really care anymore, right? The service is kind of trash, you know, whatever, like they taking forever to get you your food, whatever. But you can tell, like, they've already built the brand, they've already done what they were supposed to do once upon a time. And so people are just coming just because this is the spot. But they're not doing a good enough job to keep customers, but they still get a buttload of customers that keep coming every day. So for them, they still making money. But for you, you're like, you know what? I don't care. I'm never going back there. That's the opportunities that we're looking for. So I wanted to give you guys that so you can have the mindset, because out of the 4 steps that you guys need to have in this acquisition phase that you're in, is you have to understand the deal. And to understand the deal, you have to have the right mindset of what you're looking for, right? The second thing I want you guys to do, so there's 4 things. I'm gonna give you guys these 4, then we'll jump into this napkin. The first thing is understand the deal. The second thing is finding the deal, right? Now, I know some of you are very intelligent. You're like, wait, I'm understanding the deal, then I'm finding the deal? I don't get it. If you understand what you're looking for, when you go find the deal, you see what I'm saying? Like, what is it? Seek and ye shall find, right? If you think on it, you look, you know what you're looking for. When you're going through the T12, when you're going through the rent rules, you can start seeing, like, wait a minute, why is the property management company getting paid so much? Why did it jump, right? You can start paying attention to those things. Once you find the deal and you know you got a deal, you put it through the napkin underwriter, it gives you the green light, you put it to deeper underwriting, or what we call elevated underwriting. Now you get into, this is a thumbs up. Let's go find funding. All right. Once you have your funding, you close the deal and you manage until exit. All right. It's 4 major steps when it comes to multifamily. So this is the first step. We're going to jump into this right here. I'm going to go over this, the napkin. This is what I recommend people use, or use something like this. All right. Everything that's on here, you can find on the OM, the T12s, and the rent rules. I saw somebody in the chat said, it was Jason, he said, yeah, I got a screenshot of one today. If somebody sends me a screenshot, I would probably immediately call the broker back and be like, hey, are you like out the office like all day or something? Is that why I got a screenshot? Or like, is there any way you can send me the actual documents? Because again, you want to find out, like, am I dealing with the right person here? Like, if you're in a rush, you know, your daughter's getting married and I want to do good by you still, so I sent you a screenshot until I can send you the, hey, dude, I get it. Listen, you know what I mean? I'll just wait till you send me the stuff. But could you imagine if you came to somebody who's ready to buy a deal and you go, yeah, I was underwriting the deal, and they say, oh, send me what you got, and then you screenshot it to them? Like, I don't even understand what that would look like. Like, if somebody screenshot me a single family deal, I'm like, what are you doing? Like, send me the numbers, right? So here we go. So what we're looking for, first thing, for those of you who's gonna get this, you wanna make sure that you make a copy for yourself, all right? First things first, make a copy. That way you can come in here, and if you mess something up, you're not gonna be like, yo, Eddie, can you, you know what I mean? Don't be hitting me up, sliding in my DMs, asking me for another copy of this, okay? So make yourself a copy, and you're gonna see certain notes in here. It's just a point. If you forget it, what it is, right? So CapEx, that's a term everyone here should know. CapEx is a fancy word. In single family, typically we call it rehab. All right, this is basically how much it's gonna cost for us to get the property to where we need it to be. Pro forma, essentially the easiest way to understand pro forma is where the property is going to project it, where we want the property, how we would like the property to perform. Pro forma, all right, very simple. I'm trying to break this down as simple as I possibly can, and I tested out with my son. He's 8 years old. I don't know if you guys heard him or saw him. He came to say goodnight. My son now knows how to napkin underwrite. All right. And I'm saying that not to try to like poke fun or anything like that, but if you can simplify something, you know you got it. So I want you guys to learn this and then go find your own 8-year-old and see if you can teach them this. That's when you know you got it. Now, if you don't have an 8-year-old, please don't go to no schools trying to get an 8-year-old. You may have some issues with that. You get arrested, I cannot help you. Just find someone that you can explain this and make it simple enough where they can understand it. So if anyone here is like stuck or lost on something, please speak up, raise your hand. Let's go over it before we move on, because I want to make sure we're all on the same page. Yeah, is that good for everybody? Put some ones in the chat. Let me know if that's good. Melanie says she got an 8-year-old. All right, perfect. There you go, Melanie.
I think you just volunteered your 8-year-old.
Listen, he'll do it. Now, I'm not even getting that. I'm not even getting that. We'll keep moving. All right, perfect.
Hey, Eddie, can I just say one thing real quick? And
Dude, I was wondering when you was gonna say something. I'm like, where does this guy go? Is he in the bathroom still?
I've been raising my hand, bro, trying to be respectful.
Let's go. What you got?
No, but all I was gonna say is, because I know this is gonna be way basic for some people here, but also working with some of you guys coming from the Elephant Challenge that are new to real estate or multifamily. Like, I want to break down what Ed and Eddie just gave you in really simple, basic terms. Your offering memorandum or your OM is going to give you probably your most optimistic numbers.
Yeah.
Your T12 and rent roll are going to give you actual numbers that they're operating on right now. And I just put into the Google the Zoom chat, a Google Drive link, that if you guys want some resources for just like scripts, I have a terminology sheet in there. And then, like, as you find deals, like, reach out to one of us, like Edward or Eddie or me, because like we're actively looking for deals together. And we have resources. So hopefully that's just a basic help. And I think I made it so if you have that link, you have access to everything.
Yeah.
But there's just some good resources for those that are just starting out and learning. And Edward and Eddie or whoever, if you guys have terminology to add to those like basic definitions, I think that's important to have for people as they do calls. They can pull that up and be like, okay, wait, what's LOI? What's NOI? What's a due diligence period? Like, and so, yeah, guys, if you're confident on your definition, feel free to add to that sheet. I just try to make that available as a resource for us all to use.
This is really good, bro. This is really good stuff.
I want to add something to the T12 real quick, Eddie, before Eddie jumps into this. The T12, you have to remember, with anything that you're acquiring data-wise, even if they put it through a Yardi or a Appfolio, whatever property management software they're using, at the end of the day, you may have human error. It's possible. Nobody's perfect. No machine is perfect. And I've looked at T12s, too many to be honest, but I love it, so it's fine. Looked at T12s where you can see two numbers and you're like, that doesn't add up. It does not make sense. I know this shouldn't be what it is. I know that's not correct. And if you ask the broker about it, they're going to be even more confused because they didn't look at the T12 the way you did. So if that is something you care about, I'm not saying everyone in here has to be an expert on the T12, because if someone understands it and you want to partner with someone that gets it, but you love raising capital, go for it. But just know that there is gonna be error in anything you look at.
Yeah.
Don't believe everything you see on a T12 or OM. Ryan's 100% right. OM is very inflated because that's the 30-second elevator pitch that the broker has to every single prospective buyer. And they make it look pretty and fancy and all this city information, which half the time, if you know the city, you know the city, like you don't care about it. But sometimes it's good information. So
So
James asked, how do you know the numbers in the financials are legit?
there you go.
You can't question the rent, except due diligence. You should 1,000,000% walk into every unit. I don't care if there's 700 of them or 1,000 or 4,000, or if you're buying a city, you walk into every unit, you pay an inspector to walk into every unit, and you inspect every lease. Because the only thing you have to rely on to basically cover and verify the rent roll is the actual leases itself. And if there's a rent increase, that should be there as well. And if they don't have any of that organized, you ask them. There's no other way to do it. Like, you got to do boots on the ground and figure it out.
So here's the thing, right? When you are, I want to make sure that there's a distinction here, because there's two different points. Okay, the napkin underwriting is the part where you go through it to see, is this worth spending time on? Okay. Once you get past the napkin underwriting, then you go deep into it, where you could do a little bit more research to be able to validate if these numbers make sense, right? Now, when you're doing that, you also going to start looking at, like, what's the other apartments paying? What are they getting in rent and stuff? So if this apartment is saying, now imagine if you get a deal that an apartment is saying they're getting $2,000 a unit, and it hasn't been updated in forever ago. And the property down the street has been updated, is only getting $1,200. You're like, something doesn't add up, right? Like the best part of what you do when you underwrite is you looking for inconsistencies and lies. But could you imagine if you had to spend all that time looking for inconsistencies and lies in every single deal? You wouldn't get nothing done, which is why napkin underwriting is the best thing that you could do. Think of napkin underwriting like you're sitting at a restaurant, your favorite restaurant, and your deal is about to, Nick, the link should work. I just clicked on it and it opened up, so I'm not 100% sure. Ryan, if you could repost that, maybe that would be better, but it works. But imagine you're sitting down at the restaurant, your favorite restaurant. I know Ed's is what's your favorite restaurant? You told me the other day, with the big rat, Chuck E. Cheese. Yeah. So I know he said, he's sitting down, and he's like, all right, they're about to send me my meal. It's my favorite platter. And they, normally they come through, they give you utensils, right? And they bring out a napkin for you that, you're getting ready. And when your meal is about to come out, first thing you do, if this is your favorite meal, first thing you do is, let me grab my napkin, and you flap it open and you put it around your neck, right? Or you put it on your lap. And you're doing this because you are about to get in this meal. Whatever this meal is, it's about to be messy. It's going to be ugly. You need it on your lap because your fingers are going to get dirty and you need to wipe it off on the napkins. Or you put it around your neck because this whole area right here is about to have steak all over it. And so you're like, listen, I don't even care right now. I'm going to finish devouring this food, and then I'm gonna use my napkin to clean it up. That's exactly what's taking place. The napkin underwriting allows you to be able to flap it open and see, is this worth devouring? Is this worth getting into? If you don't do this in every meal that you've never had in your life, you like, bet, just put it in front of me, I'm gonna kill it. I mean, you'll be hungry and disappointed along the way because you're just eating and tasting everything that may not even be a good deal for you or a good meal for you. But you guys get what I'm saying, deal meal. I hope everybody understands.
Don't insult the mouse. It's not a rat.
It's not.
Secondly, I don't know what Chuck E. Cheese you're going to that has steak, but I'm down.
I mean, you're in Hawaii. Things are different, bro. I don't know what to tell you. All right, so listen, let's jump into it. So current average rents, performance, current average rents is the current average rent. Trust me, I had to say that.
And let me add to that. Now, you guys might think I'm crazy for jumping in and saying this. If you get just a T12 and you have no rent roll, you're like, how do I find this? So under T12, they're gonna show you rent to income. Now, they may also have additional income. Be careful of that, because
It's a trick.
I am trying to get comps for rent, but I'm factoring in additional income. Now your numbers look inflated, and you're like, either these people have magic powers and tricking people to paying a lot for their rent, or I'm doing something wrong. There's a good
Right.
chance it's going to be the latter, because additional income is not going to show up on a Zillow rental comp or rental meter. Perfect example. Okay, so if I'm sitting in my house and my rent's $1,000 a month, right? But I have additional expenses that I pay for, such as washer, parking, X, Y, and Z, and there's a dog park and amenities and all this cool stuff, and I'm paying another $400, and my neighbor in a different building doesn't have all that stuff, and you're like, why are they paying $1,000 as well, but they have 2 extra bedrooms and another bathroom? Something.
Yeah.
Well, no, they have all these amenities they're paying for that aren't factored into the rent. I hope I didn't lose anyone on that. That's very important to distinguish.
Yeah, and Anthony says seems simple, but I had that challenge today. Yeah, I mean, listen, this is stuff that we're teaching you guys because we've been through it. We understand where you might be at right now, and we don't want you to struggle. We want you guys to be able to have this down pat selfishly because of 2 main reasons. One, we want everybody to win. I don't know if you noticed, but it gets really weird and boring if you're the only one in your group that has money and don't have to go to work, right? So we want as many people to be in this world with us as possible. And 2, we want to do deals with you guys. We want to be able to collectively take down deals and be able to make this thing happen. And we can't do that if we're just hoarding information and not giving you the game, right? So additional income, let me break that down real quick. Here's why we're breaking this down. Some brokers will allow this information to come your way, and they'll just jumbo pack the additional income with the rent roll, with how much money is actually being brought in just for rent. The reason why that's the issue when they don't make that distinction, it fluffs up how good the property is actually making money. So imagine if your additional income came from particular services that you have on the property that in a year or 2 maybe can't be offered. So you're assuming your rent is looking so good, but in actuality, your rent is 1/3 of that amount. This is why you want to make sure it's separated, and we'll show you that. But again, verify everything. Current average rent of each unit. You want to get the performer. Again, all this information you find. The number of units, you want to put that down. The CapEx, sorry, not CapEx, the current express ratio. We'll go into that in a second. This isn't something you have to figure out. You're only filling out the blue spots. All right. This whole part of this napkin is going to populate for you guys, and so will this. So you don't have anything to worry there. Now, current occupancy rate, you'll get this. If they're not telling you this, that is a problem. Ask to speak to Daddy Broker. Get this information. All right. Whisper price or asking price. This is the whole price. This is not the price per unit. So if they gave you the price per unit, do the math that you need so that you can be able to come up with exactly what their whisper price is, which is the language of brokers, or their asking price. And then you have the class. What kind of class property is it? Is it an A, B, or C? It's a drop-down situation right here. All right. Right here, we have a spreadsheet. I'm sorry, not a spreadsheet, a website, and I'm gonna click on that in a second. Melody asked a question. She said, where or how do I figure out the pro forma? You'll get that you'll see that. We're actually gonna show you like a real life example of where to be able to find that. I got you guys. So if you click on this link right here, this is estimate. This isn't like gospel, okay? If you want gospel, reach out to a broker in the local area and ask them, hey, what do you think the cap is right now, in your opinion? You have to say in your opinion, because if you don't, I'm gonna tell you exactly what everybody's gonna say. They're gonna say to you, oh, well, because of interest rates, blah, 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 blah. Duh. Obviously, I know that. That's why I'm calling you. Right? You're the guy or girl that's supposed to be on top of that. So tell me, what do you think the market cap rate is in whatever the area is that you're looking for? All right. Now, this down here, current mortgage. This is extremely important information. You see here, always required. You can't really do anything on a deal if you don't know what this is. This is like if you come from single family, you're doing a creative deal, and you're trying to figure out if you can make this deal work. It won't work as cash. And you're like, okay, cool, let's do creative. I'll just take over the loan subject to. And you never got the original loan amount. Or even worse, you never got what's left, the existing loan amount. Can you do a creative deal? No, it's impossible. Like somebody said in the chat, it's like getting the drink menu and there's no food attached to it. Like you wanted to order something to eat and they just gave you the drink menu. Like, how am I supposed to work on this? So you want to get this information, and we'll show you exactly where to get this. This is all the mortgage information. This is very important because in multifamily, especially if it is, if there's supposed to be a payback coming up soon, or if there's, let's just put it this way. You can't do nothing if you don't get the mortgage information, plain and simple. And if they send you screenshots, just ignore them, all right? And then the seller carry amount. This is very similar to creative financing, okay? Seller financing. So this would be your sub 2. This is seller finance. Now, I wanna make sure I say something so that is very clear. When you are talking to a broker, never say the words seller finance or sub 2. That is not their language. They will view you like an outsider if you are talking like you're talking about single family. Put some respect on their name and what they do, and relate to them in the format that they want to be related to. So when you're saying, hey, is the seller open to any seller carry? That's what you say. You don't say, is the seller open to seller finance? Can they? That you're gonna ruin your relationship. Okay. Same thing. If you're thinking about possibly we can do carry the note and take over the mortgage or whatever like that, we're talking about assumable, and you're not talking about subject to. There's keywords. The brokers are the gatekeepers in multifamily. In single family, you don't have that. The multifamily, well, agents try to do that. But in multifamily, brokers are the gatekeepers. And if you smell like a wholesaler, they will block you. If you talk like a wholesaler, they will block you. They do not want wholesalers in this business, which, whether I agree or not on that, doesn't matter, because if you are serious about multifamily, you are no longer a wholesaler. You are an investor, which is one of the reasons why I never quite like the word wholesaler, because it may just seem like you can only do one thing. You're an investor when you're dealing with this type of space. So, Ed, what I'm going to do is...
Sorry, real quick, I want to make a point to that.
Yeah.
It's not like single family where you have to make a contract assignable. So it's called vesting. Yeah. If you're buying a multifamily property, they have this in place where, let's be honest, 99.99% of people, you're not buying a multifamily under your name. If you are, you're making a massive mistake and a lot of risk. Also, if you're multiple people, you're not going to list 10 people on the offer. What you do is you have every property attached to a single LLC. I'm not going to get into the taxes, the legality, none of that. I'm not a lawyer. But the reason is, most of the contracts are assignable because you may put it under contract under Ed and Eddie, and then our team will buy it together, but we put our team name, like our company name, and then we create an LLC for that specific building and address. You don't
Yep.
want to, if you ask that, they're gonna be like, it's always assignable. And also, at the end of the day, if you are wholesaling it, there's a lot of ways to make that happen. Or if you're partnering with us, there's a lot of ways to make that happen without them ever being involved. So also don't make it a bigger problem than it needs to be, as long as you're transparent with the person that's buying it, and you obviously have your ducks in a row. You guys will all be fine taken care of without making it messy for the seller. I promise.
Yep, got it. All right, so in here, I got some notes. Only edit the blue cells. If this goes all the way through, which you'll see, you can actually hit elevate, and you basically gonna hit this form right here. Okay, this form, what this not so important initial LOI stage.
Are you talking about the names on the offer?
Hey, Alan, can you unmute? Are you able to come up?
Yeah, sure.
All right,
Yep.
what's going on, bro?
Yeah, I just thought maybe that's a great point, especially at the LOI stage, or somebody called it the soft LOI stage. You don't really need to be too particular about the names. Is that true? You just want to start the relationship, the conversation?
So you don't want to be particular about the name, but you want to be able to prove whoever's being the form of communication and whoever's name is on paper, that you can be like, hey, yes, I can buy this. I have the resources to buy this. But you have to remember this as well. In single family, it's a lot easier to just put something on the contract. You can almost do it without much effort. In multifamily, the most painful thing a broker can go through because of the long due diligence is going under escrow with someone who can't close.
Right.
And the hardest, you have two really big battles before you open escrow you're gonna face. One is getting the information, which you think is easier. It gets frustrating. Second is making sure that they trust that you can close. They don't care about anything else besides the offer and can you follow through with it. Obviously,
Okay.
stuff happens in real estate with inspections and the X's and O's. But at the end of the day, the worst thing a broker can do is advise a seller to sell to someone that they didn't vet, that can actually come to the table.
Okay, great. And just quickly, are you doing this financial due diligence before the physical, or are you doing it simultaneously with your physical inspection?
So how it works is, day one you open escrow, you have a due diligence period where you do want to start planning for your physical inspection, but you also, I personally wouldn't even deposit an EMD until I have every document I need.
Okay.
Because what if I put my EMD and they don't give me all the documents I need for a month?
Right.
I'm not playing that game. You want my money in escrow, I need to at least have the documents. I'm not asking you for anything crazy. You're gonna give me those anyway, you know?
Okay.
So you want to make sure you have the financials, and then once you have the financials, then I'd probably proceed with scheduling your inspection stuff and your physical due diligence. Because one, obviously the bigger building is going to take a while. Two, you don't want to do that and find something wrong on your financials, because those get expensive. Like
Okay.
inspections on a single family, yeah, not much. Like it can add up, but if you're doing it 3 buildings and 60 units, good luck, and you're spending a few days. I'll tell you that much.
Okay. I know it might not be the right time to discuss this, but when you do submit the first LOI, the documentation that has to go with it, like proof of funds and all of that, can you talk about that before you end tonight as to
Yeah,
what you need?
we'll talk about what the next stage would be once you submit this and what to do after.
Just
Okay,
remind us
great.
at the end, please.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So So
Yeah, Catherine, sorry, real quick. Catherine asked EMD. Sorry for not clarifying. Earnest money deposit is basically the money you put into it's like good faith. Like, I'm gonna follow through with this. Once you remove your due diligence and you've cleared all of it, like the financials are good, inspection is good, loan is good, the EMD money goes hard. What that means is the seller has the right to keep your deposit no matter what, if you cancel escrow. Okay, so if you remove all your contingencies and your due diligence, they have the right to keep your deposit if you cancel escrow. What amount for EMD? I always offer 1% and nothing more. I've sometimes actually gotten it less than 1%. But people say like single family, you have to have 3. I've had someone tell me 10. I'm gonna offer 1. If you want more additional after the due diligence is removed, I'm fine with that. We can discuss. But you don't want to put more than you have to, especially if you're trying, because it's gonna sit there a long time. So just make sure that you're really, everything's negotiable, bottom line. So just make sure you're very upfront with the agent and the seller or broker, whoever's involved, that, hey, this is what we're putting in. Due diligence, I would say, yeah, 45 days, like Ryan said.
yeah,
Bigger
minimum.
building and, okay, so 2 factors. Bigger buildings and like much larger units, I'd probably even ask for a little more, just in case. Also, if you have an assumable loan, like Eddie mentioned, you are going to take almost a minimum 3 months just for that. If any
Now why is that?
So with the loans on multifamily, it's twofold. One, they just take forever. There's nothing you can do about that. Lenders take forever.
That's the banks. The banks is
Yes.
gonna take that. Now the banks would probably tell you like, hey, it'll probably take us 60 to 90 days. Count on the 90 part, especially if you're doing something in this season.
Also, regarding the assumable loan, they are gonna do a thorough deep dive. Like, one, are your financials legit? Like, okay, I'm not saying this is wrong by any means because I respect it, but all of those proof of funds that are going around with crazy numbers that just have your name on it, be careful, because in multifamily, you are really kind of like, hey, I can do this. And you don't want to put yourself in a position where they stop talking to you because they verify or try to verify your proof of funds. In the multifamily space, lenders are much more diligent. They have to verify the rents. They have to make sure the pro forma makes sense. They have to make sure the rehab is justifiable that you're proposing. And you're presenting a package. And like Eddie said, if I'm buying a business and someone's borrowing me money on that business, I hope they do their due diligence, because this isn't something that you can just buy and leave in the back burner and never focus on. So yeah, that's a big part when it comes to the loan and assumable financing and all that stuff involved. It gets very thorough and detailed.
All right, let's get into let's get into a deal, right? So Ed's gonna bring up a deal. He's gonna grab the OM so you guys can take a look at it, the T12. He's gonna grab the rent rolls, and we're gonna fill this thing out, right? And so while we're figuring it out, if all the numbers make sense, and one of the number one things that I want you guys to just look for is this section right here, the value add. Okay, if this number is a positive number, then the meal is good. All right, it's worth taking it to the next step. All right, the next step is going to be what we call elevated underwriting. It's a deep dive into all of the numbers, line by line item. It gets hectic, right? But you want that because you want to see if what you're assuming on the napkin is actually going to pan over into what you're trying to accomplish, right? So if that is the case, you just take it to whoever your favorite underwriter is, right? If you guys want, Ed or Ryan, I have another guy on my team, Hunter, who is always willing to be able to help underwrite. I know you guys see Nathaniel in the chat. I didn't even know he was in here. Nathaniel is a G. He knows a lot of stuff. He's answering questions. But if you guys want them to help you, all you gotta do is click submit form. And what you'll do from that, I'll just click it actually. What you do from there is you just fill out the information, right? Super simple. You come in here and my email address is already attached to it. I put in my email. I don't understand, what is the underwriting process? All right, 1 second, Roberto. I promise I won't leave you. I said that wrong. Roberto, I promise I won't leave you behind. So you put in your email, what the asking or whisper price is, the address to the property. You're gonna upload the T12. You're gonna upload the rent roll. You're gonna upload the P&L and the offering manual. And then you're gonna upload properties of the picture if they're available. Now, one of the things that I'm gonna do, and this, we'll have the sheet edited, but I want you to also come in, and with this being filled out, I want you to take a screenshot of this. Okay, take a screenshot of it, or just download it and come in here and upload it into, you can upload it in here, right? Until you actually see, we'll have a slot here that says use your napkin, right? And you can put it in here. You're gonna put if you're direct to seller, broker, agent, or a wholesaler. Either way, we don't care, right? We
Just prefer.
yeah, everybody's gonna get paid off of this. This isn't one of those things, right? If the loan is assumable, at this stage, you should know if the loan is assumable. We already went over that. If yes, you can put down the details. The open and seller finance, which we know because we already talked about it, that's seller carry. In fact, to make sure there's no confusion, I'm actually going to have this changed to say seller carry, so that we're all talking multifamily talk, broker talk. For the
Sorry, I'm
details.
jumping real quick regarding the
Yeah.
assumable financing. Even if a loan is not assumable, you'd be surprised to how much sellers are willing to carry as long as their mortgage is closed. What I
Yeah.
mean by that, if a loan is not assumable, there's nothing you can do about it. I would approach with caution if you want to say sub 2, that, because it gets very choppy there. So I'm not going to make it more complicated than it needs to be. Let's say the loan is not assumable. It's $1 million loan, but the property's worth 20 million. If you tell the guy, the seller, guy or girl, seller, that, hey, I'll pay off the $1 million, I'll give you another $1 million, and you carry the rest, and they say yes, you have a good opportunity, not a deal, opportunity. But if you don't know their mortgage amount and they tell you I need $1 million, you don't know what that means, because the $1 million and you may initially offer them, it's just going to close their mortgage. But if they need $1 million on top, you need to know that. So it's just, if you want to know what their existing mortgage is. I hope I didn't lose anyone. If you have questions on that, let me know.
So here's how to make it more simple, right? Get all the details, and once you send it over, because here's what we're gonna do, right? Once you fill this out and you hit submit, it goes into our database, basically emailed over to us directly. We'll be able to start deep writing, underwriting it. And in here, you're gonna also see a spot where you can put your name and your phone number. And while we're underwriting it, well, not while, but once we get done underwriting it, we're going to reach out to you and set up a Zoom so that you can be able to go over the deep underwriting part with us. So we'll show you, hey, here's what we're looking at, here's that and third. So we'll be able to truly break down like what you need to go back to the broker or the seller with to move this deal along. So to answer the question, what is the underwriting process? Underwriting is very simple. It's 2 processes. The first is gathering information and use your napkin, right? I really wanted to put please use your damn napkin, but I think YouTube was giving me issues with that. So I just put use your napkin, right? So that's the first part of underwriting. If it passed the sniff test, if it passed the underwriting on the napkin, then you take it and you have someone go what we call elevated underwriting, which means we're going to bring it up high and we're going to smack it down low. We're going to take it deep to make sure that everything is as it should be. And we get back on the phone with you and say, hey, here's what we came up with. Here's what we're seeing. We'll show it to you. We'll show you the Zoom, through Zoom, how everything is going to break down. And then now we'll tell you, hey, this is what you would need to do, how to be able to discuss it with the broker. And why would we do this? Because like I said before, we want as many people to win as possible. This is not single family where everybody needs to be selfish. I didn't even understand why people were selfish in single family, to be honest with you. Is that even if I wanted to, I couldn't do all the single families in Atlanta. So to me, I never understood that concept. So here, what we're doing is saying, hey, listen, let's get everyone who's truly focused, who really wants to do this. And if you really do want to do this, we'll help you understand this part of the game. And in addition to that, we'll give you what you need because we want to partner with you. We want to be part of the deal too. We want to help you guys. And together, now we form an even better team, a bigger team. All right.
Eddie, let me jump in real quick. We have a question, but I also want to make a point to that.
Okay, I'm actually gonna let you share your screen as well, so we can jump into this.
So talking to
Well,
brokers,
actually, let me say this last thing real quick, because I people would actually hit me up privately now and be like, "Yo, what's up with this napkin?" For everyone that joined us tonight, I'm gonna give you the napkin for free. Everyone that's on here will give you the napkin. Well, actually, here's what I do. I'm gonna give you the napkin, but you gotta promise to take like a screenshot of something and tag me and put it on social media. And I want you to put, I'm using my damn napkin from now on. All right. If you do that, I will make sure that you get this this napkin. All right. Anyone who is gonna end up watching the replay of this or who is gonna come along later, we're actually gonna charge. I don't know what we're gonna charge. It ain't gonna be something crazy like $100 or nothing like that. But I am gonna set up that it can charge. And here's why. I only want people who want to take this seriously. You guys obviously want to take this seriously because you've been on a Zoom with us so far now for about an hour long on a Wednesday night, learning how to be able to put this thing to bed. You're showcasing that you really are serious about your life and changing it and making something better, and you want to do it with everybody else. That I can respect, I love. Anyone else who's coming after, they didn't get the opportunity to prove that yet. And so I don't want to just freely give this out to people and they're just going to be, playing around with this and not making this serious. I want people to send us deals that are serious about trying to take it down. They want to learn, how do I talk to and convert back with the broker or the seller so I can see if we can make this deal work. And if you're willing to do that, then I'm willing to bring my team along and we collectively will go to work and bring this deal home. So that's the answer. Please stop hitting me up on the side like, yo, when am I get the screen? So again, screenshot of the napkin or screenshot you on the Zoom. You can do either or. You can screenshot me on the Zoom, the napkin. That part doesn't matter. Just put it out there. I just want to make sure you're putting, from now on, I'm using my damn napkin. That's the part that I'm really interested in. All right, so my guy, I'm gonna let you share. Let me stop sharing real quick, and I'm gonna throw it over to you. Are you ready?
Yeah, I should start on mine. Yeah.
All
So
right,
real quick, I wanted to make a point regarding the I had another point about the underwriting, but I forgot. But anyway, someone asked about the CapEx. Big thing about the CapEx, one, you don't want to guess it. You do want to know if it does need rehab. The more pictures, the better. And then also you want to know when the last time they changed a roof is, HVAC, anything of that sort. That it's like imagine your typical single family rehab exponentially multiplied, because every problem now all of a sudden affects multiple units. If you have one bad plumbing, it can affect the entire building. That's a massive problem. Trust me, I spent Super Bowl Sunday, because I have property here in LA, 5 minutes from my house. I spent Super Bowl Sunday, the first half, doing plumbing because there's no way I was getting anyone out there in time. And it's something that when in a 1-bedroom house or bathroom house unit, you want to make sure you take care of ASAP. So I took care of it ASAP. You sometimes gotta, that's why I invest out of state now. So I can't do that. But CapEx is everything. Rehab the units, exterior, which is important, stucco, roof, HVAC, like I mentioned, even landscaping is a big one. Parking pavement's a big one. These are all things you want to keep in mind regarding the CapEx. So it's not just the units. Units sometimes might be the cheapest part. So keep that in mind, all right? So,
You should be good to go with sharing your screen.
cool.
My Facebook, I'm gonna put it in the chat. I put my information in the chat for you guys so we can keep, I'm gonna keep giving you guys value out here. Thanks for the team to helping and answering all these questions. Absolutely love it.
I saw a question, are we looking for a cap rate average? Okay, so I get this asked a lot and everyone has different opinions on it. Personally, cap rate to me isn't the most important thing for a simple fact that one, we want to know it. And I'll tell you why in a little bit, why it's important. But you want to know it for sure. But cap rate does not factor in creative financing. It doesn't factor in seller financing. It doesn't factor in assumable debt that changes the equation because we're creative, right? Why is cap rate important though? If you tell me, hey, I can bring this property up from $8 million to $10 million, but the seller's only willing to carry for 3 years, I need to know the cap rate so I know how it's going to be valued. Because sure, we think it might go up 2 million, but if the cap rate in that city doesn't suggest I can cover that loan, which is the seller in this situation, I'm screwed. Like, what's my exit strategy? I'm either raising the funds, which in 3 years, that's not going to be fun for anyone, or I have to sell because you have to pay off that debt. So it's good to be aware of for that reason. If anyone didn't understand that, please let me know. But each city will definitely, yeah, exactly.
That's Nathaniel. He's holding it down in the chat. All right, you can jump into it. Now, Nathaniel and Ryan's gonna lock it down in the chat for us.
Cool. So here. So I have this screen specifically open. If you can see this. This isn't the property I want to look at, but this is a point that we had earlier that I want to show you guys why it's important. Here you see effective gross income. This is factoring miscellaneous income, which is like the additional income we were talking about earlier, but it's also factoring these, vacancy loss and leasing concession. But if I took the average on this number, the effective gross income, and put that as my current rent, I'm wrong. My calculator already calculates and factors in vacancy loss. So I'm not counting it twice if I use that number. Also, like I mentioned earlier, if my current rent, I want it to be strictly my rent. I don't want it to factor miscellaneous income. I don't want it to factor late fees, which is miscellaneous income, because that just fluffs numbers and makes it incorrect. So that's just one thing I want to show you guys. This is what it would look like because this is the number we're going based off of, the per unit here. This is after calculations have been done. You don't want to use that number when factoring current rent. So this is actually a property in LA. So there's a good chance it's not going to work. I haven't looked at this one in a while, but the reason I'm using this page specifically, and this is the OM that we were talking about earlier.
Could you actually scroll up to the top so you can kind of see now,
Yeah.
Do you guys see why I said this is more like a spit shine? Like, look at the presentation. It's really, really pretty.
Mm-hmm. So they always want to put their information and all of the people involved. And like I said, a lot of people are involved in multifamily. Pictures of the property, sometimes too many pictures of the property, but that's okay. It's good information. Here's a summary. Now, you'll get a lot of information here, and it's really good to have. For some places, you might care about zoning. Unit mix, I think, is very important, especially if it's too many studios. Not that that's a bad thing, but you have to keep in mind your upside. You're really limited to how many people you could rent to. People can squeeze into a 1-bedroom, studio gets a little rough.
Now, let's pause real quick. Because this is LA, you see there's not a lot of, this isn't a 100 unit type of thing, and the price is still extremely high, right? So always pay attention to that and make sure you get clear clarification on the unit mix. Sometimes even in the T12s, they'll put this is how much, how many units is et cetera, and then when you're doing the math and you're adding it up, you're like, they're missing units, or I don't understand, how many 2-bedrooms are there? Because you said you had 16, but I'm only seeing 12 here. Verify, trust, but verify. Think about it. If you alone was going to put $3.4 million on a property, how much more would you verify? Do it the same way.
Buyers are liars, sellers are worse, brokers are clueless.
That's a good one.
I
Might have to
made
add
up
that
that
to
last
my,
one. I'm kind of
I
proud
might
of
have
it.
to add that one.
Quick question.
I
Yeah.
love that. Brokers clueless. Great line.
That's good.
Great
So
line.
I had buyers are liars, sellers are worse, and wholesalers are sometimes delusional most of the time. But now I have to add brokers to that one. I like that. Brokers are good. Somebody had a question. You unmuted,
Yeah,
but I couldn't see where
yeah.
you're at. Raise your hand so we can bring you up.
Okay, yeah, this me, Chris Gross.
Chris,
So-
what's up, man?
So basically, the broker just putting everything together that the seller telling him, or actually the broker just doing the research to come up with that OEM.
So they come to an agreement on the price. The same Marcus, I love the brokers or jokers. That's a good one. So to go over the OM, the price is like any broker going to get a listing on a single family. There's gonna be an agreement between sometimes not, but an agreement between the seller and the broker. Okay. So the price is what it is. This stuff is all very generic. You can't really change this information. What the agent does a lot of the work on is the projections, the going forward. Like rehab is going to cost you about this much. Pro forma rents are going to be around this much. That's how you get to the agent's going to add their own little thing into it. One thing that you will see on most OMs as well is not only city stuff like this, and they're trying to sell you the nearby attractions or benefits to the city. The subject property is right here. Because especially when you look outside of California, but in most like states, we're probably all looking to buy multifamily out of state. If I don't know an area, this information is helpful. I know this city very well, so I don't need to look at this page. But that's why they put it there. So out of town, out of state investors are like, oh, that's cool. I didn't know there's a Universal City right here. I didn't know there was college right here. I didn't know there was a recreation center or whatever the case is. So these are
So
the things
let
they try to
pause for
make
a
it
second real
attractive.
quick. Pause for a second real quick. Let's talk about why that's important. Scroll up a little bit. That's important because remember what we were talking about earlier when we said we're looking for we're looking for the issues, right? We're trying to poke holes, as many holes as we possibly can. So when you see something like this is beneficial because it shows you like, okay, there's a lot happening around here, right? Like people are gonna want to travel here, people are gonna want to work here, they want to live here. Look how many parks there are over here, right? Like, so this is a good indication of what I want to see when I'm looking at a property, because I know the flow of migration is leading towards or near my property that I'm looking at. Now, if this was the total opposite and you only see like one major job posting or something, like you want to stay away from that because that's showing you that you're probably in a small market, small town, and there's not a lot of stuff that's coming to it, which would mean listen, in life, it's either you're growing or you're dying. There is no such thing as stagnation. So if a city is not growing, there's not people trying to move in, that means people are leaving. And so if people are leaving, that may not be a good town that you want to invest in for residential or multifamily.
And actually, Eddie, you bring up a great point. So I was actually brought a deal, and I think the person who brought it to me was on this call, but I think there's a jump off. And they're like, oh, what do you think of this? So the first thing I did was punch in the city and check the population. So I had never heard of the city. Mind you, the population was only double the size of my entire high school, which is already very small. So that was a no-go. Second thing we found out, it's the AIDS capital of the world at one point. So a small city per capita had that issue. Now, I'm not saying that's the end all be all, but it was also the highest crime rate per capita. Now, I don't think I'm investing there, but it's just something, especially when it's a city you're not familiar with, you never know what you'll find, essentially. Like this is if you're investing in your backyard, like I literally live right here. Like this is where I live. I'm not kidding. If you lived here and you didn't know there's an airport right here, that's a big factor. The amount of foot traffic this airport brings is ridiculous. I was here Sunday. It's busy. It's not the biggest airport, but these are things you want to factor in. Like someone mentioned earlier, I really apologize because I missed the name. But if what is bringing people into your city that you're looking to invest in, and is that benefiting your investment? Because that's what it is. It's a business. If I have no foot traffic, I have no income, correct? And then here are some amenities they like to show how far and close it is to. Similar thing here, aerial photos, you can kind of see how nice it is. This is what I mean by a little too many pictures at times. But you get my point where they're just trying to make it look pretty. This is useful because you do want to see the full lot and the size and where the building sits. And especially with parking being a factor, like 10 units, you want to know how they're parking. Okay. And you never know. You find, especially out in the Midwest where you get big lots and they sometimes have room for additional development. They have room where you might get another lot, plot of land next to it. If you get that as well, maybe you sell that land and you keep the property. You sell like a little parcel next to it. These are all things to factor. Property photos, obviously very important. It'll show you the condition of the units. Now, here's the funny part. Usually when a property needs rehab or heavy rehab, or let's say out of 50 units, 10 are remodeled and the rest aren't renovated, they'll show these because it's nice and easy to get photos when they're vacant. They won't show you the ones that need work. That's why I say make sure you get into every unit. I know an investor who didn't check into one unit. They walked in after the fact when it was too late and the place was gutted because they used material there to cover the rest and said you can't access that one. So they ended up losing out on a full unit that they had to remodel now. That can add to your expenses you didn't factor in. One reason why I picked this OM to show you guys, for the simple reason that everything is on this page very neat and clean and clear, when it's not always going to be the case, but for this example, I want to make it simple so you know what to look for, and you know what the numbers look like. If I said, hey, we have to go on a scavenger hunt to find this information and spend all night, I don't think anyone wants to do that. So I'm just trying to make this as simple as I can right now, and that's why I chose this OM. So not everyone is going to be like this. If you find one like this, I'm jealous. If you don't, you're not, you're part of the majority at that point. So any questions before I dive into this part?
All right, looks like we're good. Let's see how and where information we're gonna be putting into the napkin. Let's get this napkin dirty. Get some steak sauce on there, a little bit of barbecue sauce too. You know what I mean? I'm a big fan of barbecue sauce, don't judge me.
Cool. So we know the asking price, 3,475, very straightforward. Class, we'll leave it at B for now. Possibly it's going to be an A, but I'll explain why it's not, and where the upside is. So you're going to go down price per unit. Again, good to know. Not very important right now. Price per square foot, not really important. Cap rate. So cap rate was over there. Okay, we'll get back to that. We're not going to get into details of all this yet. We'll save that for another night. But here's another thing you want with the unit mix is the rents. So this is what I mean. This is great because it's only showing me rental information. It's not adding all this other income that I will eventually worry about, but I don't need to now. So very simple. Luckily, it's 10 units to where the math is very simple because I'm just going to make this 1,600. And this one is 2,300. Obviously, to find that out, you just take the total rent divided by units. Luckily, this one's a simple example, so it's not going to take a lot of math. Okay. Here's some property info. It's good to know the year built. Some people do care about that. Some buyers care about that, and we'll get into our buy box later on. So you have an idea of why. Okay. For example, laundry income. If they included this into the total income, it changes the number. Now, $217 isn't going to break the bank by any means, but imagine on when you add 50 parking spaces, 50 late fees, 50 X, Y, and Z, that income adds up. Okay. If at any point I lose you guys or have a question, please just message and someone on the team will point it out. This side-by-side comparison helps on the yearly, and then the vacancy factor. Now, rule of thumb, as we mentioned earlier, people have it at 10%. Depending on the size, I would have it at 5%. This one, they have it at 3%. Now, I'm happy they did low because you're hopefully not going to have a full vacant unit for a very long time. In a smaller unit size, it's a little easier to keep the building occupied. So the market cap rate, this one, let's go 5. Oh, pro forma is 5.91. That works. Now, expenses, this is a big topic of conversation. Theirs is at a 34%. Again, rule of thumb, everyone has a little bit of a different rule, but people usually say 50%. On smaller units, like 10 units, maybe 20, you may want to lower that. But I wouldn't get into that on the napkin side of things. And so don't worry about that too much. It's just be aware that expenses can be an area of opportunity. Also, it's very important to know what's in your expenses. One big thing missing here on the list of expenses that would be a cost to almost anyone buying this is management, right? So if it's not in their expenses, I don't care what they put here, I have to factor that in. So I'm going to add that. So if there's 34% without it, I'm going to round up and say, okay, adding in management, I'm going to say 40. I might even write an expense at 42 to 45, depending if they're missing anything else. Also, areas of opportunity, which we'll also get into later. I don't want to confuse anyone. But a big reason why I also picked this one is the proposed financing. With the proposed financing, they're telling us the details of the loan assumption. So the approximate loan amount is 1.8. So we have existing loan at 1.8. 42 to 45%. What that means is, am I still sharing my screen?
No, hold on 1 second.
Okay, so 42 to 45%. What that means is,
Go ahead.
of all the income, so let's say I make 10,000 a month, just for simple numbers. That percentage, 45% in this example, is taken out of that, and that's what goes towards my expenses every month. Expenses includes these things: insurance, gas, water, trash, landscaping, repairs, any money put aside for reserves, but it does not factor your mortgage. That's not expense. Expense is more controllable, kind of, sort of, except the taxes and insurance part. But it does not factor your mortgage. Okay. Real quick on this, I want to make this part very clear. With the current mortgage, especially if it's assumable, in this scenario, we know it's an assumable loan. Okay. So this is important information. Interest rate's 3.25. Okay. I want to make this point very clear, and if I lose you, please let me know. The reason why the original loan is so important, because I have to base the interest rate on it. Okay. If I use the interest rate on the current balance, you're not going to get the same monthly payment that they're actually paying. Okay. Because you're basing the interest on a different loan amount. hope I didn't confuse anyone with that. But one of the most important things that I do care about on this is the annual debt service. How much does my loan cost me every month? This will also tell you if interest is or is not included in the payment. Also, hopefully, the loan type explains that. 5-year fixed, 10-year term, starting December 2021. Why is that important? What happens after the 5 years is not fixed anymore and there's 5 years remaining? You need to know what to look for to ask the right question. Also, you need to know that, oh, if I see that, I know, okay, these are questions we're going to have once we do get into the deep underwriting. So let me try to figure it out beforehand, okay? Loan types can get very complicated in multifamily, so be aware of that. So term we know is 10 years technically. Amortization is not on here. Prepayment penalty doesn't say. Interest only payments, we can kind of find that out, and I'll tell you guys why it's kind of. So if my mortgage is 1.8 at 3.25, when factoring principal and interest, I'll have about a 7,800 payment. They have it at 94,000. 78.34. Perfect. So this factors in interest. Does everyone see how I figured that out?
No.
Okay. So I'll explain it real quick. If I do this. So the 94. You want to divide that by 12. So I got 78,333.
Now, what was that? What was the two numbers that you just divided?
So it's 94,000 divided by 12, because this says annual debt service. You want to find out your monthly. So when you find out your monthly, you then find out what you're paying every month in mortgage, right? Very simple. I want to make sure that that number does not either does or doesn't include my principal.
Hey, Ed, 1 second. I know this might take us off a little bit, but Jason, can you unmute yourself and come up here really quick? I want to understand what you're saying. You asked what is a locked out period, and I just kind of want to make sure we're not leading you astray here. Go ahead, Jason.
Melody, yes, it can. If interest rate can go up, it can become variable if it's not fixed.
Jason, you can talk. I see you're muted.
And the lockout period, I think from what I know and researched is just a minimum number of years which you can't pay off the entire loan.
Okay.
So I think it's related
gotcha.
to prepayment penalties.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Exactly. That's what I think. And again, guys, I don't know that. I'm basing that
No,
off.
it is.
Yeah.
It is. I just
Yeah.
didn't understand what he meant by him saying it now. I wasn't sure if he was talking about the right thing. But it's normally, it's very rare you hear it called lockout period too much. It's typically they just put prepayment, but you can't have that.
Yeah. Which means, guys, if you get a loan and you're going to pay it off early, you're going to have a penalty because your lender wants to make that money in interest, right?
Yeah.
Which is also a very cool thing to understand if you're trying to pitch seller finance, because that's the benefit. But I'm not going to go down that road because we need to stay on track with what.
Yeah,
Ed is showing us.
we'll definitely do that on one of our other days that we're going to do this underwriting. We'll be doing an episode every week. So
Another
go ahead,
thing to
keep going. I
factor-
threw you off there.
Yeah, another thing to factor with the assumable loan is you're gonna have a assumption fee, which is important to be aware of, usually around 1%, which means you pay 1% of the loan to acquire it. So it's like their fee for doing the paperwork, the transfer. But also make sure you know if your assumable loan has that fee, a prepayment penalty. That's why we put it in here. Because it's really important to know. So if I need to get out of this beforehand, I know what it's going to cost me. Now, to answer what I was saying earlier about how I knew this wasn't only interest, is 1.8 loan amount. I multiplied it by the 3.25%. My number came out way less than 7,000 we originally had. This tells me that it's interest only.
All right, back up one more time since we had stopped everybody. So
Yeah.
you got the 1.8 from the, we're only looking at the OM right now, but you got the 1.8 from the expired loan amount. We see it right there on the OM. Can you go through it real quick?
Yeah, right here.
All right, so you see that. And then you took that and go ahead and break it down. What's the next thing you did?
So I did the 1.8 times the interest rate. If anyone has calculated hard money, it's very similar where you're only calculating the interest rate. I multiplied these two numbers, 1.8, 3.25%, and I got what my total interest is for the year, and I divided it by 12. That's only my interest.
You guys, do you guys got that? Put a 1 in the chat if we're clear to move forward. Because again, this is the game, right? We're teaching you the new rules and how to be able to play on this side of the table. So this is why also, if you look at our napkin that we're presenting to you guys, it's not basic. We're not giving you like a regular old, like, hey, what's the cap rate? Okay, cool. Yep, this one works. That's not a service to you guys. You're not learning anything, right? So we're going to teach you the game of this. And this part you need to be able to get and master. Only those who really get excited about, I mean, you could tell Ed really gets excited about Excel spreadsheet. Like he sat up once his Excel got loaded up into the screen. Those guys and girls, they can play all day long. Ryan's another one. Hunter is another guy. They can play all day long in this right here. And that's when you let them do the deep underwriting and just come back to you and then speak English, right? So you just need to focus on
I have a
this part,
question.
right?
Yeah, give me 1 sec. 2 points I want to make is one, you are not only understanding how to operate a calculator, you're understanding how Excel works and you're understanding how real estate works. If you're missing one of those two things, this is not ideal. It becomes difficult. So you need to be familiar with the tool you're using. And Ethan, I'll explain it. I'll help with the explaining with any questions. But I do want to make this point as well. And I understand this part got a little confusing. I apologize. But if you don't know the answer to this question about prepayment or interest only, but you have how much they're paying, you know what the interest rate is, you know what the loan amount is, and you have the data, call me. I will walk you through it. Now, if you all call me at one time, I'm going to get you on a Zoom again, and then we'll walk through it. But don't feel like this is the first time you're seeing this. Oh my God, I'm never doing this. I give up. I'm taking a famous thing from Bigger Pockets that Brandon Turner used to always say. When stuff gets hard, don't give up. Find someone who has the answer. Funny enough, I mentioned that. I met Brandon Turner at the event in Vegas I went to at the UFC fight of all places. So that was cool. And I know there's two questions to the first, the person who raised their hand. I'm going to give you the stage.
All right, you got it. You can unmute.
Is it me? Hey,
Yes. Hey.
so my question was, you took the loan amount of 1.8 and you divided that, or you multiplied that by the interest rate, correct?
Correct. So 0.0325.
Okay.
And why did we do that? What's the everything? So when I teach, and again, I'm doing this like I'm talking to my son, not because I don't think you guys are educated, but because that's my indication of knowing if I'm explaining something well. So for my son, the way we go through math is by understanding math is just another language. Don't fight it, just understand how to speak that language and you'll be phenomenal, right? So any calculations that you have to figure out and trust me, brokers will do this. They'll just send you this and expect you to figure it out. So all you have to do is say, okay, well, they didn't give me what the free penalty payment is. Let me see if I have enough details to figure it out. You just need to know why are you doing those calculations. Once you know why, you know what to go after. So here we're trying to figure out what's the interest only payments, and we take what the loan amount is, we times it by the interest rate, and then you have what that is for the year. And then we divide that by 12. Now we have it for the month. Now we speak in English, baby. Let's move.
Okay, so
Right.
let me show you what'll happen,
Yeah,
and this
gotcha.
is why awareness and knowing what makes sense and doesn't is important in this. And it just comes down to being on calls like this. You know, the more you're around it, the more you talk about it, the more familiar you get with it. COVID is the best thing to happen for my real estate knowledge because my dad's a real estate wizard. I spent 4 hours a day talking to my father about real estate. I was around it a lot. I learned a lot. So I didn't actually realize how much I learned until after the fact. So let's say I do the opposite. You come up to me or you accidentally press divide it by the interest rate. You're going to get 55 million. That's not going to be your mortgage payment every month. So just do the opposite. Change that divide into a multiply and you'll get the number you need. So that's when you have to know, does this make sense? If it does, you're good. If it doesn't make sense, you're like, okay, I did something wrong.
Real
And-
quick, Ethan says, Michelle, are you good? Did we hook you up?
Yeah, I got
Okay.
it. Thank
All
you.
right, perfect. Ethan, go ahead and unmute yourself, my guy. Let me know where you're still lost at. Like I said, the whole goal of this is to make sure everybody's on the same page.
And I really
So we're not
appreciate you
moving
guys
till we
taking
all get
time to walk through this because this this is where I start getting lost. So first off, we're calculating interest only, just the other options, correct?
So we're finding out well, first off, I want to know what my monthly mortgage is on the debt I'm about to assume. Are we all clear why and what that is? Yeah, okay. If anyone's not, just speak up. I
No,
promise.
if you're clear, put a 1 in the chat. If you're clear,
There you go.
if you got this part so far, put a 1 in the chat.
Well, just to clarify, you're trying to figure that out because you're trying to see what you're going to be assuming, correct? You're trying to see the amount that you're going to be assuming.
Got it.
Where?
You want to know the amount and how much that amount costs a month. See, let me explain why that's important. If you tell me the existing loan amount is 1.8, and then you tell me the interest rate is 3.25, this is where it could get very complicated. If we don't know if it's interest only or not, I don't know my mortgage payment every month because it could be one or the other, right? I have two choices. If you tell me the existing loan is 1.8, but the original loan was 2 million, now my interest rate is being calculated by the wrong number. So that's also wrong.
Okay.
What I'm trying to do is minimize error. And I know it's a napkin underwriting, so trust me, if you, or like, I can't figure this out, but I have this data. If you send me this and just in the notes section say, this is the loan information, trust me, you've done a lot there. You've helped. Because
Okay.
this isn't a deal breaker, but if you put 55 million, yes, it is. You know what I mean? It comes down to the knowledge of it. I'm not here saying this is the end of the world if you don't know this. There are documents that a broker should have that will explain this stuff, but it's more of you need to know this stuff in general because this is your business. Like you're taking it over, you know. But if you don't get it the first time, don't get me wrong. This isn't exactly like 5th grade or 1st grade math. Like there's a lot of intricacies to this. So if there's any other questions, obviously feel free to ask. And then Tracy will get to you right now.
Hello.
Hey, Ethan, are you good?
Yeah, really. Well, for the most part, yes, but just really fast. All you do is multiply the approximate loan amount by the interest by 0.0325. You don't need to times anything by 12, or you just divide by.
Dividing it by 12.
You divide it by 12 to get the monthly amount.
That's your annual. I
Were
thought
you-
you
were you
It's your
killing
monthly
it?
payment, correct?
Were you killing a fly or did you get it at that moment? Was that a
No,
light bulb?
yeah, I had a gnat. My wife's
All
got
right.
this ridiculous plant that's breeding gnats in my house.
All right, so you understand it, right? So we take the loan amount, times it by the interest rate, and now we have what's getting paid per year, and we
Okay.
divide it by 12 to be able to figure out what is getting paid monthly.
Okay.
And Melody makes a good point. That's on the existing loan amount. That isn't the correct amount. Should it be on the original? Correct. But they tell us the amount. That's a big difference. You're right. You always want to make sure you're looking at the original loan amount, but this will tell you some information regarding what the loan is. So I don't want to get too into this to make it more complicated. But Tracy, go ahead.
Yes,
So
hi.
sorry, Tracy. I want to make sure we're clear though, right? Like, guys, you don't need to have this information. The only two things that have stars on it is these two right here, the original loan amount and the existing loan amount. The other information, if you have the OM, the T12, we can go pull that information out. And then when we get on the Zoom with you, when we call you back and then we say, hey, let's get on a Zoom real fast, then we can go over the part that was the most confusing to you that you couldn't find or couldn't figure out, right? But in order to know if this is something that makes sense or not, majority of the information is going to be found that you put in the top part. Once, yeah, we're still sharing the screen, Jerson. You probably, I don't know what to tell you. Try to refresh or something. The screen's still being shared. But so I want to make sure we're clear because I feel like even though you guys are starting to get this math part, I promise you tomorrow you're gonna look at this, you're gonna be like, damn, I don't remember anything that they were going over yesterday, right? So understand the most important parts of this is this. First, get the OM, the T12, and the rent roll. It's the most important part. Before you get your napkin, you need to order, right? So get your T12, get your rent rolls, and get your OM. Now, once you have that, you do your best to fill out the first section first. Scroll up a little bit, Ed. You do your best to fill that first section, right? And then the additional information, whatever you can figure out that you can find essentially and put it in here, perfect. Same thing for the seller carry amount. If you don't know what that is and it's just not making sense, you can still submit this over and we'll walk you through the parts that you missed out on. But I promise you, this is one of those scenarios where I can almost put money on it. If you're new, you are not going to get it completely the first time around. It's just not going to happen. Like, as experienced as I am, I remember I went to a meeting with Nathaniel, and these were like high level individuals talking big business, all multifamily space. And I'm sitting in there and I'm a little bit beside myself because I'm like, it's been a long time since I've been in a room where I was completely clueless about what the hell everybody else is so excited about, right? And the second thing, I was just amazed at, like, damn, I hear what they're saying, I just don't quite get it yet. But I was excited because I knew that I was going to submerge myself in this thing that eventually it would just click and I'd be like Ethan, right? It'd just be like, oh, I get it. I know what we're going after, right? It's just gonna snap for you. So I want to encourage you guys, don't feel discouraged. Understand you are on the right path. If you join us every week, it will take you less than 4 weeks and you'll have everything that we're talking about down pat, for sure.
And I apologize because I don't have an 8-year-old I could practice on. So I have a younger brother, but he's not 8. So there's
It's all
that.
good, man. You can borrow mine. So I'll get you his Zoom link. You can link up with us. So Ethan, are you good? Perfect,
Awesome.
perfect.
So
Tracy,
sorry,
I
Tracy.
apologize. It's on you.
Hi, thank you.
Right.
So I got the numbers. I just wanted to confirm. So we're looking for the way you figured out that it was interest only. So you took that approximate loan amount and multiplied that by the interest divided by 12, and you got 4875, right?
Yeah.
But down here it says that the annual debt service is 94,005, and you translated that to 7833.
Correct.
I guess my question is,
Principal.
that tells me that their mortgage is 7833. So where are they paying
So this is principal.
4875?
So this is interest only. So you know how much is going towards principal. So this 7833 is including principal and interest. This is only.
Oh, you were just pulling out what the interest part is. Okay, got it.
Well, see, the reason I'm also doing that is because if you just get the 7833 and I give you no other context, you don't know if that's interest or principal only. Off the top of my head, I'm not going to do that math. I know Excel. I don't have Excel up here. So that's why I did it, because I want to know, is that interest only? Because I know what the interest only payment is.
Okay,
I know
got
that that's not interest only, then okay, it has to be principal. All right, cool, we're good.
okay, I
See where
got
I'm
it.
going?
Yep,
Perfect.
I got it. I got it. I got confused. I was thinking there was 2 payments there, but I know I
No,
got
no,
it.
you're
I got it.
fine.
You just
Thank you
done
for
the
asking.
numbers to see what it was, to see if that was included in there. Gotcha.
Yeah.
right,
Because I wouldn't know otherwise. So yeah, Michael, you had a question?
Thank you.
Tracy, before you go, I want to let you know your hoodie is like legit. I don't know if you saw, we matching a little bit. If you let me know where you cop that, I would love the purchase.
Okay, yeah, I just got
For
it this
support.
past weekend. I'll send you the guy's information.
Is it somebody you know?
No, I met him at this summit. I went to the EYL summit in DC, and he was one of
Okay.
the vendors there. And I'm interested in selling t-shirts with my logo. And his caught my eye. It was really, really nice. He had this whole
Nice.
little story about it and everything.
I love it. I love it.
And
Yeah, we'll
the
definitely.
material is great too. It's really great quality material.
Tracy, I'm sold. Stop trying to tell me. I got it. I told. All right, Tracy. Michael, what's going on?
Thank you.
How you doing? Yeah,
Good,
the
good.
loan assumption fee, is that something that you pay upfront or is that added on to the loan?
Depends. I actually had this conversation today. It's one or the other. To them, they just look at it, they're gonna get their money anyway. And they also, if they can add it into that interest, they're gonna capitalize on that. But sometimes lenders just say you have to pay it up front, and it goes into your closing cost, which you would have if you paid, and if you got quite any loan. I would probably say prepare to have it up front. If they give you the option not to, then okay, it's up to you at that point.
Okay.
Yeah, luckily it's not too much on a deal like that.
We got a question here as well. Does the annual debt service also include insurance as well? Or is it just principal and interest and taxes?
So it's just your debt, which could be principal and interest or just interest. PITI is gonna include your taxes and insurance, but luckily the name says it too, which makes it easy to remember, is debt. Don't worry about, because insurance and taxes and debt is more of expense. You don't owe that money back because you didn't borrow it. You owe that money because government is the best way I can put it. So I know we spent some time on the loan, but the loan is one of the most important parts in acquiring property, especially today, where it can be the most expensive. Amortization years helps. Again, don't get too caught up in it. Prepayment penalty helps, but don't get too caught up in it. Here we know is interest only payments, no, and monthly mortgage payment we know is just 7,855. I forgot the number, but you get the point. Seller carry amount. If required if loan is assumable. Why do we say that? It's a good segue. This makes an easy segue. If the loan is assumable, here's something I don't want to get confused on. The terminology gets a little mixed up. Loan to value and leverage are the same. So if I say this is 52% leveraged, it just means the loan is 52% of the sales price, which is our purchase price. The reason why the seller carry amount is very important in a scenario like this, and a lot of brokers will tell you no, they're not carrying, is because look at the amount that you have to come down. If your loan to value or you're leveraged 52%, the seller and broker, to be honest, are expecting or used to expect you to come down 42%. Personally, it's gonna have to be a really good deal for me to sign off on saying we're gonna bring 42% of any purchase price to the table. And that's not because we're stubborn or don't think it's worth it or what the case is. It's because of utilization of resources.
Yeah.
Something you have to keep in mind. If I'm putting all the work to raise this money, if I'm putting all the work to do X, Y, and Z, I want to make sure it's worth it, is the first part. Second part, I don't know what the seller needs yet. What if the seller only needs 20 of that 40%? Or 40, or in this case, 48%, but what if they only need half? And I say, hey, Mr. Seller, or Mr. Seller, I'll give you half of that that amount. Can you carry the rest? And now all of a sudden you're underwriting this deal that no one else sees because we're just being creative now. So the reason why I say this is even if they say no, let us know that. But you know what? I'm gonna offer it anyway. I don't care. I will offer seller or carry on every single LOI, even if they tell me no 100 times. Because until they get it on paper and see the numbers, they don't know what they're saying no to. Like if I told you I'm giving you a $10 gift card and you said no, but I said it's the Starbucks, you're like, okay, cool, I get a free Starbucks. But if it's
Let's talk about that real quick. Let's talk about that real quick, right? Let's talk about the mindset of the market where sellers are at right now. Same thing that's taking place in single family that we're starting to see a lot. I was talking with somebody today, it was like, yeah, every time I talk to an agent, I ask them now, you know, do they think the seller would be interested in terms? And they're saying yes now. 3 months ago, an agent would have cursed you out, right? Because the market is different. And so it's happening also in the multifamily space when you have particular financial boundaries that is stopping what was a great, awesome deal to be that when it comes towards time to exit. And so offering creative allows, like our guy Hunter says, it allows for them to lock in the price that they really wanted, as opposed to selling at a discount or losing. And when you're in the multifamily space, it is not the same. If you're doing single family, like, hey, if you want cash, it's gonna have to be $70,000 less than what they were. They may be able to make that work depending on their motivation. But it's very rare you're gonna find a multifamily that needs a full remodel. It's very rare you're gonna find a multifamily that's gonna be like a full gut. I'm talking about compared to a single family's full gut, right? And so majority of the time, these multifamily deals that we're looking at, they're cash flowing machines. So when you're looking to offer them a price that they want, it's a benefit because they would hate to have a cash flow machine that they had for years, and now they're trying to exit and they can't because of what the market is doing. And if they sell, they would have to sell at a loss. That's the value in being able to offer something creative that makes it more sense. Isn't seller carry actually more common in the multifamily space anyway? Absolutely. That's the crazy thing. I want to say it started over there, and then some intelligent individuals back in the day figured a way to be able to make it work in single family. So yeah.
So let me jump into that real quick. Here's something you guys have to remember as well. In the single family space, for the most part, anyone you buy it from, any seller, they still need a place to live if they live there. How do you tell someone I'm not giving you all the money up front, but then they turn around like, okay, how do I have money to go buy another place? I don't want to get into that rabbit hole because I obviously don't specialize in single family, but you get my point. Multifamily space, there's two things you have to remember. Well, a few things you have to remember. So let me start with this. You don't stumble upon even 20 units. You don't buy that by accident. You don't acquire it by accident. You knew what you were doing, first and foremost. You bought this to make more money. You didn't buy it because you like the street you lived on and the school is nice that your kids are going to go to. That's not your reason for buying this. You bought it for wealth and additional income. Secondly, there is going to be a level of ego involved with multifamily. And what I mean by that is if they can go around and say, you won't believe what I got for this property, they're not going to ask the terms. They're going to say, wow, I can't believe you sold for that much in this market. Believe it or not, that's a factor. Okay. So investors have this number in their head. If you could give them that number, how you get there may not always be important to them. Last part I'm going to say on that topic. For everyone that's familiar with seller carry and the tax benefits, imagine how scalable that is on the multifamily side of things. You're deferring taxes down the road. I can get into another deep rabbit hole regarding how many different ways you could go around the taxes on the payments. I'll save that for another day. We'll do the next episode. We have to leave a little teaser, but essentially what it comes down to is you doing seller carry is not only giving them more money tomorrow, but it's saving them more money tomorrow. And there's also other ways I can get depreciation involved, but I'm not doing that tonight either because we're approaching past 2 hours. So we'll get into all those next week, I promise, or the week after. Any other questions before we finish up with the OM, which we're kind of almost done with at this point?
We're actually almost done with this whole entire thing.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't have much, but any questions on that and anything that you want me to go over that we may have flown past, or you had something saved, whatever.
No. So now that you put this information in, right? And again, we only did that mathematical calculation because we wanted to prove a point and show you guys that you can get the details. You don't need the mathematical equation that we did in order to use the napkin. It's a bonus. But you guys are adults and you're serious about this, which is why I'm giving you guys this free tonight. You should be able to learn these things, right? We want to give you guys the tools you need so that we can get things done. So now this whole entire thing is filled out just based off of the numbers that he got from the OM. Now, if you had the T12, you'd be able to be even more precise, right? If you had the rent rules, you'd be more precise. But now let's look at this on the right side. And here's what I want you guys to pay attention to. So gross potential rent, we see it at 192. Also matches what the income is, just perfect. Net annual income. This is,
I want to make sure you guys understand why this matches.
okay.
It is currently 100% occupied. So if it's 100% occupied, that means that there is no factor of vacancy. Because I can have my current average rent, but if there's any vacancies, the numbers are going to come out wrong. So that's just the reason why the income is what it is and why these two are the same. Potential rental income means all the rents added together for all, assuming all units are rented. Does that make sense?
All right, perfect. So like, for example, let's actually change that. Can you change the occupancy to, let's call it 95? So you see the difference now, right? All right, and then we see the net annual income. This is how much it's actually producing, 91 grand. Now we're gonna look at the expenses. And we end up coming into what our net operating income is. Do we always factor vacancy rate? Yes.
Yes.
You want to always factor that in because no matter what. Oh, go ahead, Ed.
So for two big reasons. One, this is a 10 unit. It's a little bit on the smaller side, but even if you're going in to remodel a unit for, let's say, a month, that's a full month's rent that you're not acquiring that I want to have a buffer for when I'm running my numbers. Even if it's just at one time. If a tenant leaves, you're not renting it out the next day. You're gonna have to touch up. You're gonna have them move out. You're gonna have to put it on the market. You're gonna have to show some potential tenants and then fill that vacancy. The biggest mistake you can make, in my opinion, as a property management company, whether you hire one or do it yourself, is give the unit to the first person that applies. Like, I will hold up my decision a week to make sure I get enough people to see it where I'm comfortable in the tenant I'm renting it to, because a bad tenant paying more will cost you a lot more than a good tenant paying less. That's the biggest reason you want to factor vacancy. Also, when you get to the 50, 30, 40, 50, hundreds of units, there's no way they're gonna be at 100% capacity at all times. It's not realistic because you have so many moving parts. So that's also something to keep in mind. So yes, I would 100% keep in mind vacancy rate.
Perfect. All right, and so now let's get down to the valuation. We see 1.5, right? Now, the value add is what I said at the beginning is what I want you guys to pay attention to. In this market, especially in this market, you do not want to get into any deal that does not have an opportunity for value add. Unless you're at that point where you need to buy property for tax purposes and you're like, look, just put my money anywhere, right? Like this is a depreciation play. Totally different. We're not talking about that right now. We're simply talking about being able to have a value add. So before I break down value add, Melody has a question. So if it's over like 60% expense rate, is that no
Not a
deal?
deal?
Is that no deal? Is that what you're saying?
Not a deal? We're trying to play like, it's like, what's that one game called? The word game?
Or is it mismatched, mismanaged?
Yeah, my thing was autocorrect on there. Yeah,
Okay,
like
okay.
what do you determine if it's a deal or not a deal? If it's like over 60% expenses on there, is that not a deal, or is
So-
that maybe a sign of mismanagement?
So,
No,
okay, so there's different factors. There's different factors that you can look at based off of what you're trying to do. What I'm telling you guys, you're not, okay, when you do the napkin underwriting, you're not 100% sure yet if it's a deal. Remember, the napkin underwriting is for us to make a sound decision based off of the numbers. Is this worth going deeper? Should we order the steak, right? That's what this is. So how do we figure that out is by paying attention to that value add. If your value add number is over 999,999, essentially, if it's over $1 million, it's worth diving deeper. Plain and simple. Just to keep it super simple, that's one of the main things you want to look at. Is there room in this deal for value add? If there is, now we can go deeper and see, to Melody's point, to Melody's point, is there mismanagement going on? Or like, what's the numbers telling me when I dive in deeper so I can really go into how profitable will this deal be? Does that make sense, Melody?
I also want to bring up a point in addition to that. I agree 100%. But the expense ratio, let's say an AC blew up or a roof, it happened to be the year that the roof is changed. Those are going to go into the expense ratio, but it doesn't mean that expense is eternal. Like I'm not going to have that same problem tomorrow, right? I change the roof. There's one roof. It should be fine for God knows how long, hopefully longer the better. But I now know that expense isn't coming up again. Or I also look at it, like was mentioned earlier, about opportunity is what goes into those expenses. If I see 60% and they're valuing the property at the current NOI, I'm getting a better deal. I know I can come in and change those numbers. I can make improvements. I can charge back utilities. I can charge back the water. Everything can be done to make the improvements overnight if you know what areas of opportunities there are. Now, is it going to happen overnight? No, but I can do all this without even removing a tenant, if that makes sense. Like, see how valuable that is without me dealing with the headache of raising rents and removing tenants and rehabbing property. If I just know what opportunities I can capitalize on the expense sheet, very big opportunity.
So let me address something that's in the chat. So there is a big difference between a great deal and a good deal, right? We've seen that now in single family. And a year ago, people were willing to buy a good deal and overpay for it because there wasn't enough deals on the table. It's totally different now. In multifamily, it's the same thing. You got to first kind of know, like, what is it that you're after, what you're trying to go after as far as deal types and etc. But then you also want to make sure that you are sticking to what is a great deal for you, because we were talking about this just earlier today. If you are looking at a 70, let's say you're looking at a 27 unit, and you're also looking at a 153 unit, okay? Both of those could be good deals, right? But if the amount of work that you will do after you purchase the property for the 27 unit versus the amount of work that you're going to do for the 153 unit, you may think is going to be more because the 153 unit has more properties and et cetera, et cetera. The truth of the matter is you are going to work regardless. So you have to understand, okay, is it worth buying this 27 unit if I can do the same exact math, get the same exact deal for 153 unit and go through the same headaches, heartaches, pain, tears, and all that other stuff, and it's still worth more to me because it's 153 units. So to this point, sorry, I forgot your name. Chris asked, $1 million value regardless of the unit number. Absolutely. But keep in mind, this deal is in LA. And this deal is only 10 units, which means if something crazy happens, especially in LA, right? And 5 of those units no longer are paying you, you are going to have to go up a very difficult shit of creek or creek shit, whatever the terminology is. It's going to be tough for you, right? Because you have such a small unit amount, which is why it's better to be able to go with a little bit higher amounts so that you can be able to withstand anything that happened, right? I think the rule is, even if 30% of your units stop paying you, the other 70% still should be able to cover what it needs to cover to continue to push forward. If you only have 10 units, those 3 make a really big difference.
So let me answer. I'm going to also answer some questions in here as well. If you notice, just by changing the cap rate to what they're offering it at 3.5, 3.6, which some of you are looking at me like I'm crazy, your offer does increase. Now, it doesn't justify their asking price, but welcome to LA. They think the assumable debt covers that, but we don't know yet. Here's the thing about the cap rate. If you're getting this at 7% debt, it absolutely doesn't make sense. But if you tell me we have this interest rate scenario with my monthly mortgage going towards principal, and what if the seller does say I'll carry 20%? I'm not turning this away. Okay, so these are things to remember. This number is subjective to this data. If you tell me there's an assumable loan and we're close enough in price here, or even if it's not like massively different, or if you tell me there's seller carry interest, send it to me. Let's run it. Once you've done this part, and this is what I want to make very clear. If you get to this part and you're stuck, like, I don't know if I should send this or not, just send it to me.
Well, no, there's no way they would know that, because if you look at that value add, that's over $1 million. We push that through, right? Because again, if the value add is there, it's worth taking a deeper dive to be able to figure out what is the seller willing to let us work on with their debt versus how long or how fast do we need to pay back the debt. So I want to make sure that point makes sense, right? Like, you fill all this out, you get the information on the right side, you're looking at it, you're like, okay, cool. I see how much net operating income is. That's a good number. I got all my expenses in play. This all makes sense. Then I go down, I look at the value add, and I'm like, wow, it's $2.4 million value add on this. This seems pretty good. Let me go ahead and click this form. In fact, go ahead and click submit form. And then also what I want you to do is take a screenshot, or either just download this form. And that way you can upload it into it. And we're going to show you exactly what it looks like.
I don't know why I came out 2 pages, but it's fine. Also, real quick, someone asked, factoring repairs reserves per unit using napkin method, or is that on separate calculation? I do that more in detail after the fact, because I I don't like, for example, with this one, I don't even have photos. So I don't know what my repair expense might be. I'm always gonna have one, but I just want to make sure that hey, I'm not I'm not gonna be too keen on that because that also depends where I'm getting that money from, knowing my investment capital and who my investors are, and also knowing what that capital is gonna cost. So there's too many factors for me to give it to, for me to tell you to make that call. Because I don't even know based on not having all the information yet and where that property is, the units, the turnaround time, too many factors involved. It gets really
So the short answer to that is don't worry about it yet, right? Like, see if this deal makes sense first. Then we can dive deeper and be like, all right, well, what's X, Y, and Z, repair costs and this and that third. Because imagine you do the repair costs and you get all this and you figure out reserves per unit, et cetera, just to find out this ain't a deal. Just to find out your value add number is 500,000. That's not a good deal. You do not want to get into a deal that you can't see how you're going to make more money on it. Doesn't make sense to, right? So that's how you want to do it. If you are shopping for multifamily in LA, you are a special breed. I salute you. You just like Ed. That's some special. Somebody, Melody said, how can I do this on a probate? So if you have a multifamily that is on a probate, essentially it means they don't have a will. It's really the same process as it would be for regular probates. So, you kind of have to walk the seller through the process. If they don't know it, then you're really gonna have to hold their hand through it. If you reach out, I started in probate with single families. So I'm very, very, in fact, let me show you guys a book really, really fast that you guys should get. If you are interested in probate, whether it's multifamily or single family, and I don't get paid for this, but this is the book, and I pulled it aside because I'm about to give this to my acquisition manager tomorrow at an event. I've had this book for some years now. It's a really good book to kind of give you the ins and out of probate so that if you're looking to help somebody, you can say, hey, what have you done so far? Oh, okay, so yeah, you need to do this, that, and the third to be able to help the seller. So
I also don't know how common it is in multifamily, just to be honest.
It's not common at all, but
Yeah.
it probably is like a older book. I'm sorry. It's probably like a older seller or something. But Melody, if you reach out to me, I'll walk you through the conversation you should have with the seller.
Can someone type out the name, please, for us?
Huh?
Can someone just type the name of the book and the author so that way everyone
I
can see it?
probably should do that, right? That would make a lot of sense. All right, I'm gonna type it in, guys.
Okay, I'll handle these questions real quick. Mike, real quick, I just put 5K as a filler. I had no basis of doing in this scenario. Today we're on a call and we got quoted 4K a unit, and we're like, all right, cool. So you just adjust it accordingly, So it just depends on the property and condition, and location obviously is the most important. But yeah, it's not, I just threw out a number. Jerson, how do I say, I don't want to butcher your name.
Yeah, that's right. Jerson. Okay, I kind of got two questions. So the first one, when it comes to doing the napkin calculation, let's say that, we have the NOI and we're able to have and calculate the debt service cost by making a few assumptions on the carry seller portion of it, playing with some terms and stuff. So we take the NOI and then we subtract the debt, then we get the cash flow. And can we take that and just divide it by our entry fee, so like down payment, closing costs, assignment, and get a cash on cash return at this point? And then let's say we have a target for like a 12% cash on cash return. Then I can go back to my debt service cost on the center financial part and adjust that to have an idea what would be a good term for seller carry on it. Sorry, I messed up the words, but does that make sense?
Right. No, I'm following you, but that's definitely not a napkin underwrite. That's why
I was about to say. So basically, what you guys just witnessed is you just witnessed two massive, intelligent individuals speak a different language, right? Like they were. You saw how fast they geeked out right there. Like Do not pay attention to anything that they're saying as information that you need to know in order to do this tomorrow. You do not. But what they're talking about, which is what we would do on the deeper underwriting, or what we call elevated underwriting. So go ahead.
But
Hank.
I will answer something that is important for everyone to know. That's all true as long as you know what your cost of capital is, not only for your down payment, or not only for your debt, but your down payment, your rehab. Because let's say we do a 40 unit, right? And my rehab cost is in the $300,000, $600,000 range, and my down payment is in the multiple millions. Unless you have a big or deep pockets that you're funding that yourself, which even then I wouldn't recommend, you need to know how much it will cost you to get that money from other investors, from a supplemental loan, from XYZ.
Awesome. Yeah,
You're right.
very cool. And then the second question, it's on the spread, not a spreadsheet, more like a conceptual question, and I missed that. I was a little bit late. I apologize, but the whole concept of the value add. So we're getting like a 2.4 million value add. Is that based on the projected rent, or let's say we make some repairs, rehab, and we have a new target for rent? Is that gonna calculate like the NOI based on that adjusted rent, projected rent into the future, and that's what we're adding to the whole value of the asset kind of thing?
It's your projected rent in today's market. Now, I know there's a lot of, like, we go into more of the deep dive once you do past this stage, because you do want to project forward. So the biggest question anytime you borrow money from an investor is, how soon can I get my money back? They don't care about anything else, because they want to make sure their money comes back to them. Because the worst thing you can do to investors is lose their money. Same thing to sell a carry. The first thing they're going to ask you is, how quickly can I get this money back that you're promising me? Because they don't want to lose money, especially if it's money they're promised and owed. Okay? So with those two things being said, you want to try to find out how quickly you can get that money back to them, because then you cleared your debt, right? So the value add is based on today's market, like the pro forma market rent is today's numbers. What do I need to do to get it to what its best performance use today? And then gradually you just have a regular standard 3 to 5%, depending on the city, increase every year. And then whatever additional income I can bring on top of that is just a cherry on top, depending on obviously the size of the project.
Got you.
So basically this value add isn't even the end all be all, right? Like this value add is, like you're saying, it's just the difference in the rents. And let's say this property right here that you're looking at, the performer rents, is like the best of the best that's in the market. But just because it's the best of the best that's in the market that you're using as your comparable rent doesn't mean it has all the extra features. Like their property may not even have the same space to allow you to put, like, let's say, new types of parking or covered parking, which you can charge for.
Dog park.
Charges. Say it again.
Laundry,
right? Or if
you're not factoring, in my opinion, my favorite thing about all of it is your expenses.
Yeah.
If I bought property today, I'm firing any management company. I live 20 minutes away. I'll manage 10 units myself if it means I'm saving 10%. You know, because I know what it's like to manage 6 units in my backyard, well, actually 8 units in my backyard, and it's not that bad if it's a new build. With a new build, there's minimal maintenance. If it's in great condition, I do my rehab right, and I'm close enough, I'll manage it, because I'm doing it now, and I know I'm capable of doing it. I have that background. I'm not telling everyone to do it. You just have to know what you can handle, but I know I can handle it. So I would just be like, screw it, I'll take it on myself. I'll save myself a large percentage of that income. So, but there's 100 different ways you can lower expenses, like I mentioned earlier. So that's something else to consider in addition to what we said, because that's it's underrated in my opinion, the amount of value you can add with that. And that won't show up in this because you want to underwrite it as a napkin underwrite worst case scenario, assuming expenses were to stay the same. Because one thing I do personally, and I'll show you guys another time, is I always underwrite and offer less. So even if I think my offer is a strong offer, let's say the seller carry interest rate is 4% here, I'll offer him 2. let's say I underwrite this at 3.5 million, I'll offer him 3.45. If he says he'll only carry 20% on the seller carryback, I'll say, hey, I'm gonna offer you to carry 30%. You kind of see where my thought process is at. You want to create as many buffers as possible so you can renegotiate. Last thing I'm gonna say to that point, I send a 3 offer LOI. Every time if you bring me a deal, I'm giving you 3 offers, no questions asked, at the minimum. Okay. If I nail it on one of those offers, I overpaid. I usually want it somewhere in between 2 offers, because that means I get a little bit of both, right? So I'm leveraging a really good high, a medium, and like a really low no seller carry, and trying to find a sweet spot in the middle. If I give him one answer or one offer, I'm gonna get no every time. Like, hey, can you buy me dinner tomorrow? No. Okay, what if I buy you dinner tomorrow, you buy it the next time? Sounds a lot better, right? Like it's a give and take.
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Does that
Thank
help?
you. Yeah, definitely. And just wanted to say, thank you so much. I've been kind of like diving deep into multifamily for the last 2 weeks with the Elephant Challenge.
Mhm.
I had a little bit of background understanding a few things on single, but not multifamily. So I wasn't even like sure about NOI, cap rate, LOI, OM, and all that stuff. And today I got on the phone with an agent talking real estate and using all those words and understanding them and back and forth. And it was so natural. And then after that, I was like, holy cow, this is cool. But like big thanks to everyone who is putting energy and time, because I don't know, it's making difference, right? And
Mhm.
I got that phone call today and it felt good to kind of know what terminology and things like that, even though I had a lot to learn still. But thank you so much, guys. Appreciate it.
And
Not a
like Eddie
problem.
said, you already showed like you know what you are talking about. And I want to say this about everyone in here. Like I'm the one of the earliest times you can possibly be, and I'm getting hungry and it's getting late for me. So I appreciate you guys all being here. And I'm looking forward to working with you guys. Like I enjoy these conversations. Like we're not here for fun or because we have nothing better to do. It's because we like it. This is all I would prefer to do tonight, except the fact that I'd like to have dinner at some point, but that's besides the point.
Listen, where
I
you're
do
at, man,
appreciate
Chuck E.
you.
Cheese is open late, so
I'm down
trust
for Chuck E. Cheese. Don't play games with me.
good.
I'm not picky.
So check this out. I want to make sure everybody sees this thing work. So go ahead and finish filling out the form, and then once you do that, we'll do one last call for any questions. We will be doing this every week. We're going to make sure that you guys are able to kind of see what's going on and grow and learn with us as we go through this. And then in addition to that, you know, make sure if you guys have questions, you are following up, you know, hit my guys up, right? Like I said, we're in this every freaking day, right? And we will go through this. Like, for example, this got sent over. If this was an actual deal, we would legit be in here going over it, then reach back out to you guys within 24 hours and hit you guys up with this, what you see here. And it would be us on Zoom showing you the deep underwriting or the elevated underwriting that we did, right? We're gonna take this deal all the way up because we can offer creative. We can take this deal all the way up and we're gonna smack it all the way down. That's why it's called an elevated underwriting. We're giving you 3 options on how you can make this deal work. But look, we're not just gonna send you this in an email and say, all right, go on your way. We're gonna get on a Zoom. We're gonna go through the deal. We're gonna walk you through what the next step should be. And that way, if you need help, you know exactly what you should be saying. Or if you can book a time that works for, you know, everybody on my team, they'll jump on with you so that if you get an answer to ask a question that you're just like, damn, I don't really understand how to answer this, they can help you. But it's both of you or all 3 of you, all 4 of you on this call. So now your broker that you're talking to is like, okay, I can respect this person because they got a team, right? It's not just one guy or one girl that's trying to ask me a bunch of questions all day long. When you have, because I really want to empower you all, Okay, so when you're talking to brokers and they say, well, who are you? I mean, you know, like, who you with? You can let them know I have a team. I'm on a team that is helping me go through this. I'm the new person on my team, but I know enough to be dangerous. And I got these guys and girls that have been doing this for some time. And this is the key word that I always tell people to tell individuals. We have about 3-4 million in capital, and it's burning a hole in our pocket. And we have a lump sum of money that's coming in next year. So we need somewhere to be able to deploy this capital. And it's my job to reach out to brokers to find out who's the right broker. And I'm so glad you picked up the phone today, Mr. Broker, because you sound like you could be it. I promise you, you talk to a broker like that, they will not only respect your game, but they will be looking to call you and give you deals and help you out.
So I want to add to that too. This isn't something that we just, me personally speaking, so you guys get my background. I didn't stumble into multifamily. I found it by accident, but I dropped everything else and said, this is what I'm doing. I devoted a lot of time into this. Ryan and I are part of a mastermind that is only multifamily focused. We were at a summit in Nashville a few months ago and met phenomenal people. And I'll bring up more stories in the future, but I can confidently say in the world of multifamily, if I don't know the answer to something, I promise you I know someone that does. And if I don't, then I really would like to meet the person that does. The mastermind we're part of has everything from an operations manager, acquisitions, HR, and private money SEC lawyer. So we are very resourceful in that sense. There's especially when we get to the private raising topic and the compliances and the legalities and what you can and can't do and who you can and can't ask for money is mind-boggling. It's kind of crazy. I'm still trying to figure it out. Also, why that's important is I have resources in more different ways that we can offer. What if I told you you can offer nothing to an investor and they'll put money into your deal? You would not offer any money back. All you offer them is depreciation. We can explain what that is and how. Equity splits, preferred interest. There's so many factors. And if there's anything else I can do for you guys, my phone number's here, my Instagram's here, Facebook. If you're gonna add me on Facebook, message me first because I get a lot of spam as well, like Ryan mentioned earlier. It's kind of ridiculous. But I appreciate everyone for being here tonight. So let us know if there's anything else we can do for you guys, you know, and I appreciate you all.
All right. Listen, if you guys appreciated my guy Ed coming in here and giving this amazing amount of game and level that at the level that he did, put some ones in the chat for us. Show your appreciation. Let's make sure he feels loved. Love it, love it. Perfect, perfect. Okay, so Marcus had sent a deal over, and I want to know, so he sent over an OM. And Marcus, what I want to know from you is, do you want us to go over it now? Because we can with no problem. We can underwrite it now. Or do you want to wait till you get the T12 and the rent rolls tomorrow, and then you can underwrite, you can napkin underwrite it, and then send it over, and then we can call you back with the details. We good either way. I know the chat is saying let's get dinner to Ed. But
Yeah, me too. Me too. Yeah, I want to get Ed going. Is that all right? So that's mostly I want to just make sure we're gonna get to it. But dude, I would love to be able to work with you guys around it together. Like, and I'm gonna get the information from the agent tomorrow.
Yeah, Marcus,
okay, bet. Listen, get the information from tomorrow. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to make a copy of this. All right, I'm gonna come in here.
So one thing as he's doing this, I want you guys to make sure you do. If too many people are on this one without making a copy, you're gonna be editing the master. So if you don't want your stuff lost.
Well, no, they won't be able to. It'll just be on viewer for them. I'm just gonna send them.
Okay, one
So I'm
more
just gonna
thing.
send you.
I'm gonna warn you guys, and this is a mistake I made early on. So sorry, last piece of advice. Please be aware of this. You're gonna have your own copy of this. You're gonna have your own in your own Google Drive. Every single time you're gonna underwrite a property, go to the file tab, press make a copy, title it, the address or the building name, or anything you need to do, even if you just take the email subject line, name. So you see in the top left, right next to the logo that says please use your napkin, you can edit that. Put that as your property address, make a copy of every single property you underwrite. Why I say that? You don't understand how many times I've underwritten the same thing because I didn't look back and I couldn't find my old notes. Also, if I say, hey, you sent me something, it doesn't look right, or this is weird, or look at this again, instead of us having to re-enter all of the numbers, which will happen if you only have one copy, you're going to delete them. You have your original and you can go back and edit the minor things on that one thing with, you basically have notes for that property. So I encourage you, that's the biggest piece of advice I can give, because I've made that mistake and it really made things complicated. So make a copy, you can play around with it. When I make my 3-offer LOI, I make 3 copies and I play around with the numbers as long as my base information is the same. So have fun with it, make a copy, play around with it, see what happens to the numbers. That's what I did. Yeah, I'm weird because I found it fun, but whatever. Like, if you enjoy it, you'll figure it out.
Let's do it. All right, so here it is. Here's what we're gonna do. So there's a quick question on this. Where do we find the form? The form is right in the napkin. So when you figure this out, you go through it, you see what the numbers is. And again, we want to show you guys the numbers so that, I mean, you guys are professional, you're investors. I want you to know what these numbers is so you can have that type of conversation. Then you come down here, you be like, all right, value add. Yup, that clears it for me. Submit for elevated underwriting. You click right here and the form is gonna pop up. Right? Just click here, come in, click, bing, bang. You fill out the information and you're good. My name on Facebook is Eddie Charger. Unfortunately, you have to send me a friend request because somehow I got to 5,000 friends and I'm pretty sure I don't know all of them. So I have to do some spring cleaning. But if you go ahead and just send me a friend request, I will make sure to add you. Yes, I'm also in sub 2. I'm one of the accountability leaders in sub 2. I'm here in Atlanta, Georgia. I have been in sub 2 since probably month 3. And you know, we do a lot of different things with different people in the group. I do a lot of stuff with Pace as well. And if you're local here in Atlanta, we're actually doing an event tomorrow that I'll put in the chat. If you want to come through, hang out, it's gonna be pretty cool. It's gonna be called HUD Up or Shut Up. And this is more so for on the single family side. But before we get into that, I'll put all that information in the chat. Here's what I'm gonna do. I'm going to make sure everybody here gets a copy. I already went on Instagram, saw some people put the post up. I appreciate it. I went on Facebook as well, saw the same thing. Absolutely appreciate it. Thank you guys. Thank you for showing love to the team that's on here as well. But as promised, I want to get everybody a copy of this spreadsheet, and it was only going to be given here for free. Outside of here, people got to prove that they're willing to do 2 hours and whatever minutes we've been on here. They got to put in the work. We did almost 3 hours going over underwriting on a napkin. They don't deserve to get it for free. You guys do, right? If you agree with me, let me know. Put some charger plugs in the chat if you agree with that. They did that to me in another group. I was like, that's amazing. I never thought to use a charger outlet plug as like my thing, right? So that's my new thing for now on. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm going to open this up. So I'm gonna show everybody that's on here. And if you can, right before I press enter so you all can get this. If you guys are able to turn on your cameras so we can get everybody's face in here. And what I want to do
I need to
is
get one of those things. I need to find a little niche.
you gotta get on it, bro. You gotta get on. I'm actually going to send a message over to Pace.
I think if you're sharing your screen, so I think we can get everyone in the group photo if that's what you want to do.
Yep.
If you stop sharing, right?
Yep.
Sweet.
All right, so here we go. All right, you ready? I'm waiting for some more cameras out here. Somebody's like, I'm in my pajamas, man. This dude tripping.
Gotta do a countdown so we can make sure to smile.
Yeah. Get the countdown. Get ready. Warm up. You know, if you gotta do some stuff. And it's gonna be a video, so you guys be loud, go crazy. I'm just gonna tell Pace that we think he's an animal for creating all these monsters that are in here for 3 hours going over underwriting, and we appreciate him, and let him know that he has the best mentorship on the face of God's green earth. So if you guys are with me on that, go ahead and unmute yourself. And I'm okay with the background noise and all this other stuff. So please don't be like, oh, well, the dog's in the back. Look, my dog's right here.
There is a dog.
All right, here we go. All right, on the count of 3, here we go. Pace, my guy, what's going on, man? I'm just chilling.
Going on, Pace.
Let's go. Hey, the man. Already.
Hey, sir.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey.
Thank you.
For our amazing,
Thank you, guys.
2023.
Hey, everybody, say what's up to Pace. Brother, we love you. Keep doing what you do.
Thank you.
So much value.
Building the community that makes us work together. There's a couple of multifamily deals that's in here. I don't know if we're gonna sell it to Pace. We might have to take these down ourselves. We'll sell you one. We'll sell you one. The rest we're taking it down ourselves. Stay charged up.
That's it. That's it.
Love it, y'all. He's gonna get a kick out
I'm
of it.
using my damn napkin.
Napkin has been sent.
Damn, that was.
Napkin has been sent. Go ahead and take that. Make yourself a copy. We
Thanks,
appreciate every last one of you guys. Look, we're
Thank
eager.
you.
We want to get to work.
Thank you.
I got my guy Peter in here. If you see his hat, the B actually stands for billion. But he's modest. He doesn't like to talk about it. I do. He's the money man on our team. He's been in the space of debt for some years. Does a lot of lending, has access to people with lending. I mean, look at it. The guy looks like money. I'll be honest with you. You know,
What's his name?
what's his name? His name is Peter. Peter St. Martin. If you could, Peter, put your contact information in the chat, man. Trying to be all sexy and handsome and stuff. If you need help with anything, you see, the guy has money falling out of his hat. I told you it stood for B for billions, man. I'm not making this stuff up. But if you need any help with anything when it comes to deal flow, financing, debt, even on especially on the single family, but on the multifamily, he is an amazing contact to have, and even more amazinger. It's a new word. I just made it up. You can use it. Amazinger individual and friend to do this whole thing with. So appreciate you coming in and rocking with us. All right. So with that being said, is there anyone who does not have access to the chart?
Oh,
All right. Awesome.
so are we meeting the same time tomorrow, or we just submit our stuff and meet when it's time to meet on that particular deal?
Yeah, just submit your stuff, and then what we'll do is, so the spreadsheet, not the spreadsheet, but the Google form that you fill out is gonna have some additional things added into it, one being your name, the other being your number. So for now, submit your stuff, and in the morning, by the time you guys wake up, it will already have those new additions, and we'll be reaching back out to you guys once Ed and the team Hunter underwrites it. we'll be reaching back out to you guys, finding out what works best schedule-wise. And we'll jump in on a Zoom and get to it and get you guys your 3-option LOI offer. Sounds good?
Yes, thank you.
Any other questions before we dip?
Have a great night, guys. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Yes,
thank you.
10:50 where I'm at. I can only imagine where it is for you guys. Have you guys been charged up?
Yeah.
Hell Are you not
Thank
entertained?
you.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go. Let's listen. I
On
want
the
to
value.
say this last thing. There's a lot of people that's loving multifamily right now. There's a lot of people that's going to get into it even more and et cetera, et cetera. I want to make sure I make this clear. Stay focused. Do not pay attention to all the noise that is going to be around you, and understand if you stay focused on this long enough, you will surprise yourself at just the amount of greatness you're going to accomplish. And what I mean by that is do 2 things. I want you guys to educate yourself every single day on multifamily. Every aspect of it, you should be learning, okay? And then I want you guys to set the proper expectations. Please do not be out here thinking that, you know what, in 90 days, I'm gonna be the first person to get 5,000 units. I'm not saying that's impossible. I'm saying set proper expectations, because with the right expectations and the right education, you will go far in this game. And I want that for every single one of you guys. I mean that. And some of you guys I'm just meeting for the first time, but I promise you from the bottom of my heart, I really want you all to win. And I understand not everyone's gonna win wholesaling. Not everyone's gonna win, fixing and flipping. Multifamily is probably the only space that you can be able to leverage other people's expertise and skill set and be able to participate, whether you're a GP or an LP. And so I want that for every one of you. This is the most amazing time in the market that we could have ever jumped into multifamily. There's a lot of people that's going to be afraid to do anything. And if you know how wealth works, when there is fear, there is blood in the streets. And when there is blood in the streets, you go shopping. When people are afraid to move, that's when you are the most active you've ever been in your entire life. When people are active, like you can't believe it, you chilling. And you're not gonna feel like, you're not gonna have FOMO, because when they were scared, you were getting it going. And I want you all to be able to get a bag. That's gonna be the new line. I want each and every one of you guys to be able to get a bag, but seriously, truly impact your family. Because one multifamily deal does not just change the world for you, it changes the world for your generation. All right, so with that being said, I love you all. Stay charged up. Have a great night. Follow us on social. You'll get the next meeting and everything, but we will be doing this again every week. And also, if you guys don't see us on sometime during the end of this week, on Monday, Peter, the money man, Billion Pete, that's your new nickname, by the way, Peter. I just don't want you to know that. We're doing a Zoom call where we're doing the same exact thing, except we're calling brokers live and we're teaching people on the spot how to call brokers. So if that's something that you feel you would benefit from, definitely be able to chime in. That's going to be on Monday. That would be during the daytime. I believe it's at 2 o'clock that we do it Eastern time every single Monday. So tune in to follow that. With that being said, have a great night. Make sure you connect with everybody that's in the chat. I love you all. Stay charged up.
Thank you, Eddie. Thank you,
Thanks,
Eddie.
Eddie.
Guys.
Thanks, Eddie.
Thank you
Bye.
both.
Have a good night, guys.
Thank you guys. Have a good night.
Thank you guys. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Good night.
Later.